Okay, by popular demand, I'm just joking. We're going to continue the debate right now. Now, let me put the link up in here in comment section. All right. So what you have to do for this debate, click on the link. Click on the link. You'll see, and you can join the debate in the guest area. All right. Just again, a refresher. I'm what you need, also known as Anderson Phillip. You're watching my channel, and hopefully, those who want to get on my channel should be able to get on it now. All right. And just sit down on the ground because I like sitting on the floor. And I'm gonna relax a little bit. Sit back, eat these nuts. I'm waiting for you guys to come through. For those of you who don't know, I already covered this topic on another stream, but I don't have a problem going through with it again. So you click on the link that's provided. You made it. Holy Inferno. All right. I wish the other guy could come. Just click on the StreamYard link right there and pop up. You'll be up and in. You don't have to call. Click on the link that I have there in the comment section. Don't call. Click on the link. And I'll be able to add you to the program. It's as easy as that. Holy Inferno. Click on the link. There we go. Up, 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 up. Yes, sir.
Yo, what's up?
Yes, I can hear you. Let me just mute my mic.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Head on, man. My hair kind of messy right now, fam.
That's all right, man.
Yeah, man.
Okay, how are we gonna?
Could show up? Did he say he was gonna come, or?
He wanted to come, but let me just tell you something. So that we don't get feedback on this thing. Anytime you're talking, you're on mute, and when you're not talking, just mute it, right? The mic.
Oh, mute the mic. Hold on. How? Wait. Okay. Wait. Where's the mute at?
See the mute button? Look for the mic button.
Cam.
Right.
Cam mic.
Click on the mic, and you'll mute, and click on it again to unmute. Right. And click on it again to un. Right. Good.
So when you talk, I mute. Right.
Right. So when I'm talking, you'll be mute. Or when you're talking, I'll be mute.
All right, that's a bet. All right, so where do you want to start off? Where do you want to start off at?
Right. So I covered this topic a bit just before you came on. I actually went through it, but I don't mind starting off with just saying my position is that the lineal championship of the world is not a world title. So I'll start off with that. And if you want to respond, you could go ahead and say your position.
Yeah, I actually agree there. The lineal champion or title is not a world title. It's not. But I think the ring is.
Okay. Let me tell you why I don't think the ring is the world title. At least when I'm talking about world title, I'm talking about that counts because we got all kinds of sanctioning bodies. We got the IBO, IBA, NABF, BBBFC, right? But they're not. They even though they say world title, they're not world titles, right? Um, the reason is the ring is not used to determine the undisputed champion of the world. You know.
Yeah, that's true. The reason why I say that the ring is the world title because it's been here since 1922. The only title that's been here before the ring title was the WBA, but back then it was the NWBA. So the first time the ring had awarded a champion was Jax Dempsey, which he did not have the WBA, but that was the first time they awarded a world champion.
Correct. But here's the thing: there was always undisputed. Undisputed has been there before lineal, before the ring, before any of those sanctioning bodies, whether it's the NBA or the New York State Athletic Commission. So as a result of that, when we're talking about undisputed champion, we have to look at the criteria that determines that, and that's where that supersedes everything. You can't have a lineal champion if you didn't have an undisputed champion. That's how it all began. So when we talk about John L. Sullivan, there was no ring around. There was uh, no sanctioning body, no IBU, nothing. John L. Sullivan was the undisputed champion of the world. And because Corbett beat Sullivan, he was the next undisputed champion and also characterized as the lineal champion. That is the guy that followed John L. Sullivan.
But they said that the ring, that not the ring, the lineal champion been here since the 1800s, which included John.
Correct. But here's the problem. It was only lineal because of undisputed. And on top of that, the lineal champion wasn't consistent. There was always breaks in the lineal lineage. So as a result of that, the only way they reset it was every time there was an undisputed champion, we get the reset of the lineage. But if you don't have the undisputed champion, you can't have a lineage.
So how back then when there wasn't no belts, no ABCs, no ring, how do you become the undisputed?
Right. So one guy would be ranked or considered as one of the best, and another guy would be considered as one of the best. And they would fight one another because they have won so many different matches and so many different contests. They won so many that the best would face the best, and somebody would come out the best of them all. So that's basically how it went.
So do you think it's a mistake that they would consider a ring champion um like a ring champion, a world champion? Do you think that's just a mistake, period? Because I don't mind to call Pacquiao a six-weight division champion because there was other champions that were considered world champions when they just only had the ring.
The thing about it is this. This is where I'm coming from. Of course, a lineal champion can be a world champion. He can be, but it's not because he's lineal. It's because of his undisputed status. Because remember, Undisputed was just one person. It wasn't a bunch of belts. It was just one person. Then it moved on in the early 1900s to somebody who was under a sanctioning body. They tried to make boxing more, what's the word I'm looking for? They tried to make it more legitimate as a sport. So now we had the IBU as a sanctioning body, and they awarded the championship belt or whatever. So we had belts in 1911. But before that, we really didn't have belts. We just had an honorary title. Oh, you're undisputed, right? Because boxing wasn't that organized, right? Bare knuckle brawls really came to prominence a little bit later. And then boxing, the first gloved fight, came after, right? So what happened is you can have guys who are lineal champions, but undisputed lineal champions, like Jack Dempsey, because he beat Jesse Willard, who beat Jack Johnson, right? And Jack Johnson, you remember the IBU was around. They actually suspended Jack Johnson when he had to face another colored fighter for the heavyweight title. They actually made him vacate heavyweight championship of the world to have that fight, and then he got it back. But the weirdest thing in the world is that because you had just one guy who was champion, that was the one undisputed champion, it was easy to do the lineal thing. You understand? And the ring awarded a title. But the ring was actually, before the ring was actually the New York State Athletic Commission in 1920. 1911 was the IBU, which again, the New York State Athletic Commission kind of allowed to be the first sanctioning, but that was the first one. And the BBBFC, by the way, the British Boxing Board of Control, was once upon a time actually a world recognized sanctioning body as well. Which is kind of weird. It's now kind of like just regional, but it used to be global. We actually had 4 sanctioning bodies once upon a time. It's still muted. Oh, okay. He's driving or something? I'm not sure. I can't hear you. Can't hear you. Unmute your mic. Can't hear you. Still can't hear you. What just happened there? EJ Boxing Live. Woo!
Yo, you bring me on? Oh, let's get into it, bruv. So I was listening to, let's go back, yeah, because I think you missed out some stuff here, yeah. I think you missed out some stuff here. You can unmute. I ain't got no feedback. You can mute. You don't have to be on mute, my man. Like my mic, you should be fine. You know what I mean? But anyway, so you're talking about the lineal, right? Or then you guys come back. Yo.
Just now, hold on, EJ. Mute your mic for a second. Let me just checking out Chris' mic here. Chris.
Yo, y'all hear me?
Great. All right. So I'm gonna let Chris say his piece first, and then EJ, you go in after, right?
Cool.
Okay,
cool.
So do you not? So when Floyd Mayweather beat Shane Mosley, he grabbed the lineal title. That was a no title bout fight. So do you still consider him the lineal title?
Yeah, I consider him the lineal champion because that is a honorary title, but I don't consider that a world title. He didn't win a world title. He didn't win the WBA belt, so that's not counted in his world titles.
EJ, what you think?
I would listen. When Floyd beat Shane Mosley, Floyd was a undisputed lineal long time ago when he beat Carlos Baldomir and Zab Judah, right? Because Zab Judah beat Corey Spinks, and Mayorga was undisputed. So Floyd was that already. When he retired and came back, he was still the man. That's why you all got to see Floyd. We need to go back further though, like when we're talking about John L. Sullivan. Now, let me show you something, right? So John L. Sullivan was considered the bare knuckle fighter, right? Champion, yeah. Now, obviously, he had a contender coming through, and the Marcus of Crucible rules came in, and obviously, a gentleman Jim Corbett challenged him, right? So in the rules, it more favored Jonathan Jim Corbett, and he was younger. John L. Sullivan was a bit older, and he outpointed him, right? So, but at that point, these are the white champions. Now, at the same time, you had the colored champions, the white fighters. They fought, but they never fought them in contenders. You can almost say that was like, let's say, the IBF or the WBO belt, right? That's what you could say, in my opinion. So you had the bare knuckle champion, the Queensberry champion, and the colored champion. So now when you unify them, you become undisputed. The first undisputed champion was Jack Johnson. And I tell you why, right? Jennifer and Jill Corbett, he lost to, what's his name again? He just lost to, what's his name? Not Thingy Brother. What's his name now? Blood. The name is scared me. The Boilermaker. What's his name again? Jim Jeffries. Jim Jeffries beat Jennifer and Jim Corbett, right? Jim Jeffries. No, Jennifer and Jim Corbett lost to Bob Fitzsimmons. Then Bob Fitzsimmons lost to Jim Jeffries, right? And then he retired. Jack Johnson at the time, right? He was the color champion. He was skin. Now remember again, you got the Queensborough and Marcusy rules and the bare knuckle champion, and that was held by the white champions who didn't really challenge the black champions in a title match. Obviously, what's his name? Jim Jeffries retired. What's his name again? Marvin Hart or whatever his name is, another guy, they fought for the belt, and then Tommy Burns came and took the belt, and Tommy Burns was considered as the champion. I consider like the unified champion, not undisputed, unified. Again, Queensberry's and the bare knuckle champion, because they were combined from they brought them when John L. Sullivan came in. When what's his name again? Thingy challenged against Jack Johnson, Noah Brewski, whatever his name is, he lost the belt in Australia. Then Jack Johnson became the unified champion, right? But then at the same time, Jim Jeffries retired. So when he fought Jim Jeffries and beat him, then 100% he became the undisputed champion. That's why there was so much stake, and that's why they call that fight of the century. Therein lies the fight of the century. Now, you're talking about the lineage, right, and everything like that, right? The lineage comes from the man who beat the man who beat the man. That's what the white champions were saying. You need to beat the man who beat the man who beat the man. Well, the man who beat the man at the time, Jack Johnson, was that man. You know what I mean? And obviously, the lineage carried on all the way down the line. Now, we're talking about the Ring magazine. Well, the Ring magazine and the thing is all sports writers who used to be called the Bible of boxing, right? So that was all sports writers who they consider was the champion. So I'll give you an example, right? And when Muhammad Ali kind of retired, right, there was contenders. There was Larry Holmes and there was Ken Norton. They gave one of the belts to Ken Norton, and then Larry Holmes had to challenge for it. But he still wasn't undisputed until he beat Muhammad Ali, who retired. So when Muhammad Ali came out, then they recognized him as the undisputed champion. It's the same with Joe Louis, yeah. When what's his name again? Ezra Charles. Ezra Charles, was, he beat, what's his name again? He beat Jersey Walcott, but they didn't consider him number one until when he beat Joe Louis, and they said, because Joe Louis retired, right? So when Joe Louis came out retired, even though he wasn't the champion, he was considered as what you call the linear champion. When he beat him, then they gave him recognition. So going back to what my man said about Floyd, right? In my opinion, Floyd was already undisputed when he beat Carlos Baldomir and he beat Zab Judah, right? But Floyd, he was like what you called it. You said the man who beat the man, right? That's what he would have been known of. But Shane had the belts, so Shane had to come see Floyd. And then when Floyd beat him, you could say Floyd was undisputed because he's had all the belts. At that point, he had all the belt. He had the IBF belt when he beat Zab Judah. He had a WBA belt. He had a WBC belt. And there was, remember them times there, it was all the three belts. Now, when Floyd fought Manny Pacquiao later as a welterweight, the WBO belt was on the line, right? Even though Floyd didn't want to wear it, or he didn't want nothing to do with it because he didn't regard it, right? So, my man jumped off his own hangout, but he'll probably be back in a sec, right? Right. Anyway, when Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao, in my opinion, he held every belt claimed in the welterweight division, therefore undisputed. But he was undefeated a long time ago because it was only 3 belts. So that's how you become undisputed. But the sports writers and the Ring magazine, they kind of like whoever was named as the ultimate champion, they used to give the belt as the Ring magazine by the sports writers of America, and they'd won. And then what we were talking about was the British title, was the Empire title, because remember England used to own part of the world. So whoever hold the English title was like the Empire, because remember England had the Empire. So he was talking about that title, and it was like a version of a kind of world title. But the fighters who hold that belt, they wasn't the best in the world. What you need disappeared. My man Chris, you can jump in and give your take on that.
Yeah, so I don't agree that Floyd was ever. Hold on. Okay, so what I'm about to respond is to the Floyd Mayweather undisputed thing. If you didn't hear that part, so I never considered Floyd as undisputed, because even though he beat Carlos, he didn't have the IBF about the time he fought Carlos. I don't know if he got stripped or I don't know what happened, but he fought Carlos for the WBC, and the other two belts were minor belts. It was the ABC. No, it was the IBA, and then the IBO. But whatever they were, two of those belts that he fought Carlos for was just minor belts. So, and when he fought Manny Pacquiao, by that time, you needed all four belts to be undisputed. So I never considered Floyd Mayweather undisputed.
Oh, we seized up now. Man, this thing. Okay, we're back. Okay. Hold on a second. Technical difficulties. Can you guys hear me? All right, good. Yeah, I also agree with you on that, but I didn't get to hear everything EJ was saying, so that I could actually process it. But I don't agree that Floyd was undisputed. I'm sorry about that. You know, there are specific rules governing undisputed, in my opinion. I was listening to EJ though. I like how he was talking about the color champions, because there was a certain point in time where colored boxers just, you know, did not get a shot at that, especially the heavyweight championship of the world. Of course, Joe Gans being the first champion at lightweight to win a championship. You know, Joe Gans from the Baltimore area. So, I mean, now a lot of things EJ said there are very interesting. I would like to unpack, but I'm going to do that as soon as I make sure. I see we had a bunch of guests in the area, and then they left, which is unfortunate. But what I would say is why I don't deem Floyd Mayweather as undisputed. He's a lineal champion, but he's definitely not undisputed, is because, again, of the rules and criteria that determine undisputed today, right? And that's why I don't consider him a world champion in terms of what world champions today are characterized as with regards to undisputed. I don't see him as a world champion, and therefore I don't really take that note. I don't count the lineal championship that he got when he won against Shane Mosley as a world.
It look like you froze up, bro. Y'all look like you froze up. Everyone froze up, man. Technical problems. What you guys saying in the chat? Holy Inferno, what's up, bro? Wanna call so I don't keep texting, or just texting chat. Okay, let me see what I'm saying here. Just me. So I think they haven't. Oh yeah, he's coming back now.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what's happened to my internet connection, but things are behaving so strange all of a sudden. I got a guest in the guest area. It's Chris. Let me add him back. All right. You guys can hear me?
Loud and clear, bro. Loud and clear.
Thank you. So I like what EJ's saying. Don't get me wrong. And there's a lot of it that I can't even verify because I think you got information I don't even have. But what I can say is that it's very interesting. I'm definitely researching EJ. But as of today, in today's world, they don't acknowledge the Ring magazine's title as much as it's gone way back to the 1922. They don't acknowledge it as a world title, and there's no sanctioning body necessary. I think they kind of limited it to sanctioning bodies now, and so on, so that it's an. I think of it as an honorary title. I think of it as like pound for pound. It's an honorary title today. It's kind of like the Queen of England is an honorary figure. She's not necessarily like back in the day where kings and queens used to run things. You know, it's not looked at like that today. So that's how I see it. Like they redefine, and the only reason I think they redefine the lineal championship is because one, different people, different ranking boxing bodies actually dispute who is lineal champion and who is not. Like, for example, the Transnational Boxing Board or Cyber Boxing Zone considers Shane Mosley as the lineal champion of the welterweight division, whereas the Ring does not rate him as a lineal champion. In fact, they have him as the third ranked welterweight in the division. So it's because of these discrepancies where nobody can figure out what the lineal champion is, and then on top of that, the fact that the lineal championship didn't really flow smoothly all the way down. It's not a lineage really. It's broken at times where people leave the divisions, like even, you know, where you have a champion who's been undisputed but wasn't beaten before he left the division, whether it's Bernard Hopkins. Now Bernard Hopkins was beaten by Chad Dawson, not Chad Dawson, Jermaine Taylor, right? So that's not but like somebody who didn't pass it on someone else before they left. Then there's this break, and then you have to go to the 1-2 guy to get somebody who you can consider undisputed, or however you define it, as the champion, so you can continue the lineage. So I think all those reasons, I don't really look at lineal champion as the you know, at this present time, I guess they decided, you know what, let's just look at undisputed. And you're saying that there wasn't an undisputed champion before Jack Johnson. You're saying there was a unification that led to this undisputed champion. However, when I read articles and so on, I see, you know, these guys that you talk about from bare knuckle brawl or whatever being considered undisputed. So I'm not too sure. I just need to go and actually research it more. Like what you're saying that it was guys from the bare knuckle brawl era and people from the colored boxing that came together, and Jack Johnson kind of knit that together to bring what was considered undisputed.
Yeah,
right?
because
Effectively what you're saying.
Yeah, because what I'm saying is that I'm biased in you know, in history, looking at it. You got to remember, most of the sports writers, they didn't recognize. So you see what it is, all the best champions were the colored champions, right? Like you mentioned, Joe Gans, right? So if they're all the best champions, and by racism they couldn't fight what they consider the champions is there, then I'm telling you, like now, I'm saying that was another world championship. So when the best champion from the color championship finally got his shot, you saw what happened. You know what I'm saying to you? So now he unified the colored championship with the bare knuckle championship, John L. Sullivan, and the Queensberry's and Mercury rules, which was done by Jennifer and Jim Corbett. You know what I mean? He was the guy that, because he understand the rules very well. But obviously John L. Sullivan didn't understand it. So now when you bring that's why if you look at every film, and also with the racism, how much they hated him, then they're obviously going to downplay the color championship. But as you know, the color championship were the best champions. That's how it is. So remember, again, the people telling you that in your research, they're all white. But I can tell you for a fact that, and you know for a fact that all the best champions were the black, and they were fighting each other, and they were stopping them from getting them big paydays, man. There's loads of guys over there. Sam Lamford, he had a fight with Jack Johnson, and then the sports writers had Jack Johnson winning, right? And he, even when he was old and near blind in one eye, there was Jack Dempson was the champion, and they were looking for an opponent. And Sam Lamford go, I'll fight you. And they said, no, we was looking for someone a bit easier. That's how deep he was, you know what I'm trying to say? So if you look at unbiasedly from a perspective of most of these sports, right, like Jack London, they're all racist, then they're not going to consider the black champ. They've doubted the black champs, it wasn't that many. But bro, they were the best champions. So let's go to Floyd. You say Floyd is not undisputed, or the Ring. The Ring magazine, if you look at the belt structure, if you was the undisputed champion or linear champion, whatever, that was the belt model. So what happened is that as all these sanctioning bodies came in, they designed their own belts, but the Ring magazine kept the same structure belt, copy belt, as the one used in the 1940s and 30s, if you know. So it's the same belt. And what they said, well, all these sanctioning bodies, they're ruining boxers and sports right out of America. They kept the same frame as the belt. That's why the belt looks that way. So people respect it. So what they're saying is that when we feel like you're the guy, then we give you that belt. That's why you see all Ray Robertson, you see Henry Armstrong, they had that belt. That belt means something. When you have that, you are the man of the division. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you unify and become undisputed, that belt comes along with it. Like you mentioned about when Floyd fought Carlos Baldomir, well, the belt that anyone cared about was the WBC belt. It wasn't all the other belts attached, and that was the belt Floyd was going for. Because Floyd wanted to get WBC up in every division. When he fought Thingy, because obviously Carlos Baldomir beat Zab Judah, Floyd got the IBF belt. So then he also before got the WBA belt. So in effect, Floyd was the linear champion when he left, undisputed champion, but he never held the belts all at one time. He got them bit by bit. But if you can go Floyd and have a picture, no one else has done that. But the sports writers, they didn't want to do that because, again, it's due biasly. But if they really want to be technical with it, he's had every belt. He was really the undisputed. But this is what I'm going to say to you. The sports writers, they named Manny Pacquiao the fighter of the decade, right? Everyone knows that Floyd beat Manny Pacquiao. So how can he beat the fighter of the decade when Floyd beat him? So what I'm trying to say to you is the research you're looking at is people who are biased. You have to kind of lose your own common sense. There has an agenda and stuff. And also with the Ring magazine, or Oscar De La Hoya, before you had to get 3 belts, right, to get the Ring magazine belt, the Bible of boxing. But when Oscar De La Hoya bought the magazine, he made it so that you only need 2 belts, because Amir Khan was the first one to receive that. When Amir Khan when he beat Zab Judah, when he unified the belts, right? When he beat Katalnik, then he beat Zab Judah. Then they gave Amir Khan the Ring magazine belt. They gave it to him straight. So they were trying to say Amir Khan was undisputed, but Tim Bradley was still there. You know what I mean? And Tim Bradley done all the work. So why didn't Tim Bradley get that? But they offered the fight with Tim Bradley. He turned it down and fought Pacquiao. So you have to look at it like this, right? If you're gonna go by undisputed, he has to have all the belts and hold them at the same time. Fine, but then Costa Zoo had all the belts at one time, and then he lost one of the belts, right? So he's not undisputed when he fought Ricky Hatton. He was still undisputed because he never lost it. So what they do, they say, well, we're not undisputed because the sanctioning bodies want to make money with the belts. So they won't call you undisputed. They just call you the linear champion because the linear is the champion, the man that meet the band. Now, let's go back before I finish real quick because I know the rest of you guys want to talk. The welterweight division, you said the linear championship's been broken. Well, I say to you this, if Floyd came out, he's the linear champion. You tell me anyone else is the linear champion other than Floyd, right? I can the lineage, yeah, he got broken, but Floyd was the one who had every belt in the division. Therefore, he is the linear champion if he therefore feels want to come back out. So you got Keith Thurman, Errol Spence, and Crawford. So what they're trying to do, they're trying to make their own lineage together. That's why these guys are trying to fight to get to the point where they are like Floyd. So when the lineage is broken, then a new crop of guys trying to form their own thing. Keith Thurman was the closest because I think he had 2 belts and stuff like that, but he never got the 3rd and 4th belt. So then what they've done, and also with the sanctioning bodies, they've added the WBO belt to make it even harder. I mean, that is even hard to get because I think the WBA belt doesn't like the WBO sanctions. So they don't want to unify. So in fact, these organizations are actually making it hard for anyone to even hold the belts like Terence Crawford, because the moment you hold it, they want to strip you straight away. So in effect, it's bloody hard. But back in the days, it was only 3 belts. Before that, it was only 2 belts. But the Ring magazine, if you look at the belt, that is the original copy of the belt of what it used to look like. And that's why the sports writers, they realize we don't like these sanctioning bodies because they're ruining the sport. And in effect, they're greedy. They're stopping the best to fight the best. And we're not getting the fights that we want. But no one's making no money right now. So hopefully some of these sanctioning bodies will be a bit wise and let the best fight the best so we get the best out. So that's my take.
Chris, can you guys hear me first? Anybody hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm not hearing Chris. Chris, go ahead.
Hey, Chris, your mic's off, bro. You need to sort your mic out, bro. Like you usually on the StreamYard, you got this volume thing. If you press settings, you can see the volume going up and down. You know what I mean? Like you see where it says where is it on? It says mic cam. You press that, and then you press audio, and then you can see the volume, see with the volume going up and down. In the meantime, what you need, you might as well chat in it.
Hello? Okay, what I think what Chris is going to do is he's going to come out and he's going to go back in. What I'm going to say is I hear everything you're saying, and it makes a lot of it makes sense, especially the sanctioning body's part. My thing to address the issue is that you were talking about Floyd, for example. I do believe Undisputed should be at one period in time. I'll explain to why. A guy, for example, can win a title at this point against someone here, and then at another time he winning against somebody else. And I always believe you can only be undisputed. How do I put it? The given set of guys that you're with, you want to be able to say, I am the champion. And then from there on in, you got to beat me. So undisputed leaves no doubt that you are the champion. You can't say that you're leaving no doubt when you're picking up ABC or alphabet titles at different times, because then you got to collect the other titles at that time. You can't just be picking up, like, for instance, you got one era where you pick up the WBC, and then in another era with another set of guys, you pick up the WBA. You just being a partial titleist. You know what I'm saying? You're being a titleist, but you just part of the championship. So I always believe it has to be in one period of time where you collected the belts, like how Ricardo Mayorga picked up 2 belts, how Corey Spinks picked up 2 belts, I believe it is, and then they matched with one another, and then one person got all the belts. No, actually, Corey Spinks only had 1 belt, right? And Ricardo Mayorga did the majority of the work. He got I think it was the IBF and the WBA or something like that. I think Corey Spinks had the WBC, something like that. Or he had the WBC and Corey Spinks had the WBA. But when they meshed, now, when that one set of people meshed and we got the champion out of that set of people, that was the undisputed. And then Corey Spinks beat Zab. Zab beat Corey Spinks. So Zab became the undisputed, and he was lineal champion at the same time, right? Because you can't, how could you start a new lineage if you don't have somebody who we could say definitively that's the champion? So that's where the undisputed part comes in my opinion. Undisputed doesn't mean that you have, like, that's why I say with John L. Sullivan and those guys, it's not about meshing titles. It was just that they were the undisputed champion. There ain't nobody else. There was no other champion. You can't dispute that. He was the champion. So to me, undisputed started off with 1 belt, but then, like you saying, John Corbett, he came in and he brought the, Queensberry Roots came under him. So you're saying he like the official sort of boxing began with him. So you're saying, but he was the undisputed champion because he was the guy that beat the man. He beat John L. Sullivan, the man.
Peter Jackson.
You can't be the man if you ain't undisputed. You know what I mean? That's what I'm trying to say.
Peter Jackson was the color champion, right? And Peter Jackson fought Jennifer and Jim Corbett, but it wasn't a title match, right? Before they were fighting to win, they fought each other, and like I think the fight was a draw, considered a draw. And then Jennifer and Jim Corbett went on to fight John L. Sullivan, right? But you see, Peter Jackson, he was the color champion. And when Corbett got the belt, he said, I ain't fighting no black guy. That's when the color line was going on. So he was the color champion. What I'm trying to say is that, in my opinion, I don't care what they say, it was a unified champ. It wasn't undisputed until Finn came on, until Jack Johnson made it. Because if you look at it, right, you can watch all them fights and they linear and all that. But when Jack Johnson came on the scene, that's when the money and everything went up, because they brought the color champion, the best color champion, into the equation. At the time, he was there, him and Sam Lampford were the number 1, number 2, right? And they fought each other and they had a draw. But Jack Johnson got the top to fight Tommy Burns in Australia. Then after that, they couldn't take it so badly. Then they climbed for Jim Jeffries, who never lost the belt, to come out. So what I'm saying to you is this, yeah, and this is you're not gonna get this from any historian, but they can't dispute this. The fact of the matter is the black guys were barred out of the situation, right? They weren't. How are you gonna say you're the best in boxing when you have a black champion over there and and everyone knew about it and you want to fight him? Peter Jackson, the called the Black Prince. He was there. He wanted to fight John L. Sullivan and he wanted to fight Jennifer Jib Corbett. He fought Jennifer Jobbik. At least Jennifer Jobbik fought him. But John, when he got the belt, he said, "Nah, I ain't gonna fight no black champion." So I don't care. I don't care how they want to be in all the. Remember again, how many black sports writers is gonna say this? But it's the truth. How are you gonna say you're undisputed when you never fought the black champions there? So that's what I'm trying to tell you. And when they did fight the black champions, you saw what happened. And then after that, Jack Johnson, after Jack Johnson beat, he lost the belt to Jim Willard, 20-something years before Joe Louis even got a chance to get back on the scene. That's how much they stopped a lot of other black champions getting a shot. So in my opinion, they weren't undisputed. I don't care what they say. That's why they're not really considered. But Jack Johnson, right, was considered, and Jack Dempsey did the same thing when he had the belt. He didn't want to fight Sam Lanford even when he was old, and he didn't want to fight Harry Wills either, right? But the rest of the champions, as they got up, they fought that when you fight the black champions in their prime, you saw what happened. So that's how I see that. Fine, if you want to go by the sports writers at the time and listen to what they have to say, then they're biased and they change the rules accordingly as they do it. But go ahead. Sorry for interrupting you.
No. It's good. That's what I want. I want discussion. I just want to make sure Chris's mic is on. Chris, talk through your mic. Still can't hear you. Still can't hear you, bro. Check your volume on your mic. Maybe some setting on this thing. I just don't understand. Oh, okay.
Yeah, he needs to put his headphones in, bro. He needs to put his headphones in with the mic and that, and then press the settings and press audio, and then you can change the settings, bro. And then that's how you want to do that. Yeah, that's what you probably want to do that if you got headphones in the car. Because he's in the car. I don't know if you're doing it on your phone. If you're doing it on your phone, you can do that. Like you can do that. So if you press settings and then press audio, it has like different ones. It says default, right? When it does default, you'll see when you talk the mic, you can see the volumes going up and down. So if you press default, if it's not on default, then you can try one and you see the volume and try another one. And then eventually the volume, you know what I mean? Yeah, you got to try that. So that's how you want to do that. You know what I mean?
Did you hear me? You didn't hear me. Okay. So I was saying, EJ, I get your point especially with Corbett. But here's my thing, right, EJ? My point is this. Even, I know this is not boxing, but still bare knuckle brawls, right? We know that they had black fighters who used to fight the champion, right? There's a famous one. My thing is, John L. Sullivan, at least as far as I know, I don't know about him saying that he wouldn't have faced the colored fighters, even though there was the colored fighters anyway. But yeah, you make a good point that you saying that Corbett. What now? What just happened? Oh my God. All right. Okay, you guys can you hear me? Okay, great. My feet keeps on falling off. EJ, you there?
Yep. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. All right, great. So I get your point about the colored fighters not having a say in the heavyweight championship of the world. But here's my point. You're saying that the colored title was a title. Oh man, what the come on. My feed just keeps on falling off and coming on. So that's what's happening. Now, the problem with it is it wasn't recognized officially as a title, which obviously it's going to be recognized as time goes along. And I think what you're doing is a very good thing in the sense that you're making sure that people see you got to recognize the color title as a title, and that was a championship. But as of now, it is not recognized as such by the now known world. Okay, it will change if you keep on pushing it though. The real championship, unfortunately, was kind of controlled by white people, and thanks to Jack Johnson, we got that breakthrough. That's why when anybody asks me who's really the greatest heavyweight of all time, speaking specifically on circumstances, really is Jack Johnson, if you really think about it. But anyway, Jack Johnson also didn't give Harry Wills, didn't give Sam Langford, didn't give Sam McVeigh a shot at the heavyweight championship, right? He gave a black fighter, I forgot his name, something Johnson, I think. No, not Johnson. Was it Johnson too? Was it Johnson versus Johnson? I think it was Johnson versus Johnson. My feet is constantly stopping.
Nah, he didn't fight no black. He didn't fight no black champions, bro.
Oh, I didn't say black champion. I said a black fighter.
Nah, he didn't fight no black fighters when he became champion. He didn't fight them because it was doing money. Nah, he didn't. Nah, he didn't.
Yeah, he faced
no,
it wasn't it was no world championship fight. The IBU had made him vacated for that fight.
No.
He
When he was champion, he didn't fight no black fighters. He only fought 5. They were all white because the money was in the white champions. Because what happened is like he felt like. No, he didn't. You can check it for yourself. I know he didn't. You can argue backwards. You don't have to. You can just Google. I already know this already. He didn't. Right, and the reason why is to do with money, and because if he fought, he knows that. Because remember, he fought all the black champions.
I'll show you which one I'm talking about.
All right, go ahead.
You go ahead. I'll find it. But besides that point, hey EJ, I finally see your face, bro. But aside from that point, though.
No, I was saying. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, you have a valid point about the colored champions being champions. Okay, I'm not even going to try and dispute. Listen. I'm trying to tell you, yeah.
The sports writers, that's why they done the shadow. They were real champions. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got to understand the racism at the time. They just like, it was segregated. They're segregated. So you had white side and black side, right? Now, if you're on the white side and you're reporting, you're going to make it better. But if you had black people reporting, they're going to say the black fight is better. So how you going to work out who's the best? Well, they need to fight each other. And you saw what happened when they fight each other. Them black people, when they finally got shot at the championship, they dominated heavyweight championship for like 30 or 40 years after what's his name again? After Joe Louis. There was a complete domination up until the 80s.
Rocky Marciano. No, to 1950 something.
Rocky only had the belt for about 5 years, bro. I'm talking about a complete domination of the belt when black people got a shot. He only had the belt briefly. The black people dominated. White people never had the belt like they did back previously before, because again, it's to do with the culture and money, and maybe black boxing is a poverty sport. At the time when they were boxing, is poverty. But what I'm trying to say to you is that you mentioned John L. Sullivan fight black people. No, he didn't. He didn't fight no black fighters, bro. None of them. They black fighters. When he said, Jordan, I would never fight an N-word as long as I live, a bare knuckle or not, never did, never will. That's why when Jack Johnson got a shot, they wanted to keep the black people where they are. That's why he was so upset with what's his name, with Tommy Burns. Shame on you. Shame for you giving a black man a shot, bro. It's all there, like real hardcore, wicked language. Remember again, black people, when they perceived them as members, he's just after slavery. So John Jackson, he was a free man. You know what I'm saying? So they still look down. John O'Sullivan still has the idea, slavery. So you can't have someone you see as a slave beating you. I mean, that was like the ultimate sin, man. And there was a lot of lynchings and stuff. So when you're saying when you talk about that belt is high reverence. It's just that it was perceived by the people who were writing the people that belt didn't mean anything, but the belt did, because I had all the best champions in there. The whole division, and about the murderers row, the guys who didn't even get a shot back in the field, and this is way after, like 50 years after the Jack Johnson situation. So what I'm saying to you is this: if you consider all the different sanctioning bodies, right, that was the first undisputed championship, right? And there's no doubt about it, because end of the day, they knew that Jack Johnson was the best, and they wanted to see you for the best fight, the best. And then you saw what happened when that was the case. They even believed that the old bloody Jim Jeffries out of retirement and is out fire for farm can come out and beat a black guy, because he was undisputed and he never lost, and he's considered as the real champion. Well, you see what happened, bro. You know what I'm saying? And Jack Dempsey did the same thing. He didn't fight Harry Wills. Yeah, he didn't want to fight Sam Lanford. So he continued the bar of what's going on. Let's talk about Rocky Marciano. Do you know how many people? Do you know how old Sonny Liston was? Right? How come Sonny Liston getting shocked at Rocky Marciano? Because you know he they said he was pretty old. Look, how come Rocky didn't fight him? And how come Rocky didn't fight Big Cat Cleveland Williams? But then the Sonny Liston had to fight him. You know what I'm saying? These are some bullshit facts that, you know, he fought light heavyweight Archie Moore. He fought a light heavyweight, a former light heavyweight champion, Ezra Charles, who beat Joe Lewis. Fine, he beat him, right? But if you see the first fight, you could arguably say Ezra Charles won that fight.
You hear me?
Yeah, there you go. There you go. You talk now. I've burned a lot. Yeah, go ahead. Good job.
Before Chris goes on, I just wanted to let you know the black fighter that he faced was named Battling Jim Johnson. Battling Jim Johnson. It was Johnson versus Johnson. The IBU made Johnson vacate the heavyweight championship of the world to face Battling Jim Johnson, who was the black fighter that hold on. That was the fighter he fought in place of Sam Langford.
Yeah, but that was the color championship. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That's all the color champion. I'm trying to tell you that was what I'm trying to say to you is when they were fighting to get out of that division. You know what I'm trying to say to you?
He wasn't even a color champion. They just had it was a big fight. It wasn't for the color championship of the world, none of that. It was just a fight between those two.
No, hear what I'm saying to you. That's before he became world champion. It wasn't when he was world champion, is what the question was. That's what I'm trying to tell you. When he was world champion.
I think it was when he was world champion. That's why he had to vacate. He had to vacate the heavyweight championship of the world.
He didn't vacate. No, he didn't vacate it. He had the belt and he lost to Jeff Willard. He never vacated the belt. He lost the belt. He lost to Jeff Willard. So if he fought after or before, then fine. But he never fought while he was champion. That never happened.
The fight happened in 1911 or something like that. He lost to Jeff Willard in 1917.
Yeah, but he was a champion in 1914, innit? He was a champion in 1913, 14. So I'm saying, so it's before.
All right, so I know y'all are very you guys are great with the history. I'm a young buck. I am not. But my whole thing is about the modern day era regarding undisputed and things like that. I go by belts, and Jab Judah was the last undisputed welterweight because he had the 3 belts at one time before you needed 4 belts to be undisputed. So with the 3 belts he had, that's how he was undisputed. Now I get what you're saying, EJ, about how Floyd Mayweather grabbed all the belts, because he did grab all the belts, but it was through about more than a decade, because I think he got the like 9 years between. I always thought you had to be, if you wanted to be undisputed, you needed those belts all at one time. And I think that's how the official rankings does it. So I'm speaking from an official standpoint. So I don't, yeah.
So why is that? Yeah.
EJ, before you answer that, let me just. I know this is kind of untimely, but Jack. Oh my God! Not again! What the hell?
I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Hear you, bro. Yeah, we can hear you, bro. Keep talking.
My screen has frozen up. It just froze up.
Oh, we can hear you. We can hear you. We can hear you, though. We can hear you, though.
We can see your face moving and everything. You're good.
Yeah, you look fine, bro. All right, cool. You look fine.
All right, so I was saying that he was world champion actually in that time. I think it was 19. I just fact checked it. It's 1913 when he faced the guy, but he did not face him for a world championship. Again, the white people seem to not want that to happen. They called it a boring fight because it was a technical fight between 2 black fighters, and they called it the boring fight. Jack Johnson won it. So I just wanted to let you know that little bit of information. But I love this discussion and what Chris was saying. EJ, you go ahead and respond to Chris.
All right. So what he's saying is that, like, he's saying, okay, he never hold the belts at. I never hold the belts at one time, which I do agree with. But what I will say to you is this, right? How come if Floyd came into the division, why are they still making him number 1? If he's not all the undisputed champion or what the thing, then how comes, like, if he comes in any division, he's named number 1 straight away? Like, you need to come see him, because the reason why that is because he ain't never lost in the division, had every belt in the division, and he he has the claim that you have to go, because most of them guys are still trying to fight to put their legacy in. Like Keith Thurman tried to do this and that, but he couldn't do it. His body broke down. Errol Spence tried. He had a car accident, and he's in trouble. So Crawford is still there. Is he trying to be undisputed? Is he trying to get the fights? Yeah, but he's a different promoter. So there's like little things why they can't do it. But Floyd did do it because he's his own man and own boss, and he had all the belts at one time. Now, what I'm trying to say to you guys is this, right? The sports writers, they're the ones dictate that we ain't undisputed. He never had it all at one time. But let me tell you something, bro. How are you gonna hold their belts at one time when Zab Judah fought Carlos Baldomir? He only had the IBF belt, so he didn't put all the belts on because he tried to be smart. No, not the IBF belt. I think the WBC belt, right? So when Carlos Baldomir, he was #1 contender for the WBC. So when Carlos Baldomir beat Zab Judah, Carlos Baldomir took the WBC belt. Zab Judah still had the IBF. I think the WBA, I don't know what happened to that belt. You know what I mean? They fell out. So he only had the IBF belt, that, you know what I mean? So out of the thing, because Floyd wanted to fight for all the belts. But what are you going to do when the guy he wanted to fight, like he wanted to fight Corey Spinks, in fact, yeah? But obviously he lost to Zab Judah. You know what I'm saying? So all Floyd did, he said, I'll go, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to beat all the guys who had the belt, lay claim to the belt, and make myself #1. So, boy, you gotta call me the undisputed or linear champion, whatever you want to call me, because I beat all the guys who just had the belts. You know what I'm saying? And at that point, Corey Spinks left the division. So who is? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you see the sports, right? Again, you got to look at the biasness of these people, because real talk, let's go to Vladimir Klitschko. Vladimir Klitschko will have a belt, but he was paying Floyd wouldn't pay this. Go ahead.
Before you go on, EJ, there's just two little things, because just in case it takes too long, I just want to acknowledge the people in the comment section, Intangible Boxing, and Get This Smoke, Tommy Temper. I'm seeing you guys comments in there, and I'm going to actually vocalize your comments on this discussion as well. Go ahead, EJ, take it back.
Yeah, what I'm saying, if you look at Vladimir Klitschko now, what Lennox Lewis didn't do now. So Lennox Lewis, when he was undisputed champion, when he beat Evander Holyfield, do you remember when he fought Klitschko? How come he only had a WBC belt, but they still called him undisputed? They still call Lennox Lewis undisputed, but he vacated the IBF and the WBA because he didn't want to fight Chris Burr, but he was still called undisputed. You know what I'm saying? Because he never lost the belt, but he had all the belts at one time. So what's the difference between a guy getting them all at one time or holding them one time and never losing them? So in my opinion, even though, like, real talk, they should have just called the guy undisputed because he had every belt at one time, never lost. So he's the guy. That's why I believe he's undisputed, not by the criteria of these corrupt sports writers, not giving the man the credit. The fact of the matter is, he's had every belt, never lost no one. So he is, in effect, the undisputed linear champion. And when anytime Floyd come back, that's exactly how you want to name it. But Floyd doesn't care. He said belts just give dust, because like I said to you, they gave Manny Pacquiao the fight of the decade, and you know he should have went to Floyd. So these people are biased, they have an agenda, and they work for certain people, and they're unfair. You know, they've been unfair. But us over here, we're gonna get cut through the red tape. We're gonna give the colored champions their just due, and we're gonna give Floyd Mayweather his just due and call it how it is. And that's how I see it. Go ahead.
Well said, well said. I wanted to actually chime in on some of the points you made. Okay, first of all, Floyd was a lineal champion. So that's why, remember, Floyd beat Carlos Baldomir, who beat Zab Judah. So he was the lineal champion. See, I'm not saying lineal champion don't exist. What I'm saying is it's not a world championship title. All right. And when we're looking at, the belts that these guys have attained, we don't talk about the Ring Magazine belt as a world championship title. That's all I'm saying. All right. And I understand the Ring's history, but the WBA been around before the Ring. It was the NBA, and they just changed the name. It's the same organization. They just wanted it broader. But that's sanctioning bodies. Now, I understand sanctioning bodies are corrupt. I understand all those things. But at present, the definition of undisputed has to do with getting 4 belts right now. At that time, it was 3. That's all I'm saying. But I do get your deeper points, though, which are that with Mayweather, he never lost to anybody. So he never really relinquished his championship status. If anything, he added to it. In which case, Shane Mosley really wasn't the lineal champion. It was Floyd when he came back, because he never lost his welterweight status. However, some people argue, see, this is the problem with lineal championship. Nobody could actually isolate down and agree on what it really is. Some people say you can vacate your lineal championship status. I don't understand how that is so, but some people say once you vacate your position as champion, you relink your lineal championship status. But we always thought that Muhammad Ali was a lineal champion, even though he wasn't, apparently. So he faced Joe Frazier, right? You just talked about James Jeffries. He was a lineal champion, but yet he retired from boxing, and they only really respected Jack Johnson, supposedly. And not when he beat Burns, but when he beat Jeffries, right? And interestingly, you talk about the fight of the century. You know, Pacquiao versus Mayweather was a fight of the century as well, which is very interesting, that parallel. But I get your point, though, about the same sort of bias kind of carrying down through time to some degree. But as it stands at present, how I understand it is, if you are a lineal champion and there's no break in the lineal championship, you're still the man that beat the man that beat the man. So that does carry weight. The problem is when the champion is not beaten. Now you got to reform and restart something else. The lineage must continue. So even if Jack Johnson was the lineal champion, we do recall that the guy that beat Jack Dempsey, forgot what his name is, he left boxing without, and I think he faced some black champions as well.
Gene Tunney. You talk about Gene Tunney. Go ahead.
Yeah, Gene Tunney. And there was a couple of guys who, you know, they never fought a championship fight though, but they did face some of the people from some colored heavyweight champions, not when they were colored heavyweight champions, however. So that's all a big point as well. Everybody wasn't getting a piece of the pie at all. Okay, even after Jack Johnson, more so even after Jack Johnson, because he stirred up everything, right? The Mann Act, everything. So the point is that I'm making is that the lineage kept on getting broken anyway. And like you said, with even with as you said before, Jack Dempsey did not face the colored champion, right? Because after Jack Johnson left, you had to face the colored champion, right? The number one colored champion should be facing the number one, whether he's champion or whatever.
Harry Wills.
Because
yeah,
he beat Now he beat Jess Willard, right? But so he was lineally speaking the lineal champion. But the thing is, you got to take on all challengers who are number one. And because they eliminated the colored aspect of the contenders, it's almost like he ducked the lineal colored champion. And from what you're saying, which is really interesting, it enriches the history of everything right there. So if he ducked, then can you really call him the man? He's supposed to take on all contenders, right? The number one contender, right? That's the way how it goes, you know. So in that respect, he overpassed them, and this is where Jack Dempsey kind of made the error. So it was James Corbett, and then now Jim Corbett, right? And then now it's Jack Dempsey overlooked the top colored fighter because of segregation. And so I guess it all came back together somewhere down the road, somewhere. Where you think it came back together? Where you had that undisputed niching back? Was it Joe Louis? You think? With the heavyweights.
Yeah. Joe Louis done that, man. When they let Joe Louis in that, and the only reason Joe Louis got up in that thing because he gave 10 years to Jim Braddock. So what happened is that when he lost to Max Schmeling, right? Max Schmeling was a world champion because remember again, the white champions, they were fighting each other. Jack
Sharkey. He wasn't a champ when he lost to Max Schmeling, yeah.
He wasn't, right? But what I'm saying, the white champions, Jack Sharkey, Max Schmeling, Primo Carnera, they was all battling each other, right? And what's his name again? The Clown Prince, Maxi Bear. They all battled each other, so the black guy was pushed out on the thing. Now, when he lost he was a leading contender, but you know when he lost and got knocked out by Max Schmeling. Right? Max Schmeling, because the German in the war was coming up, right? Because Max Schmeling was next in line. Because think about Max Schmeling, not that the number one contender, which is Joe Louis, he should have had a shot, right, at Jim Braddock, right? But what happened? Joe Louis's manager promised Jim Braddock that for 10 years, we're gonna take a piece out of his purse. So imagine that. I think it was like 25% of Jack Johnson's purse every time he fought. So you remember Jack Johnson had 25 title defense. Jim Braddock had 25% of his purse every single time he went out there. That's what he had to give up to get his title shot. You know what I mean?
Wow.
And obviously when he got his shot, you saw what he did to Jim Braddock. He annihilated him, bro. It was a good fight, but boy, it was too much. And then that was it, bro. You know what I mean? And they told Jack Johnson to be anti-Jack Johnson, no white women. They told him everything.
He turned out to be the longest reigning heavyweight champion until Vladimir Klitschko, longest reigning heavyweight champion of the world. That's crazy.
Thank you. Undisputed, yeah. And listen to this, right?
It's really crazy how he blew it out. For all them years we were champions.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say when black people. Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to say when black people got a shot. And the thing is, he didn't fight. Like there was other black contenders at the time, and Joe Louis probably didn't fight them, right? He fought what's his name again? He fought Joe Walker, but he didn't fight. He when the black twice. Yeah. He did the same thing. Yeah. Not as a champion. He didn't fight Ezra Charles as a champion. He fought Ezra Charles as a challenger when Ezra Charles was a champion. But what I'm saying to you is that you imagine, that them sort of beasts like Joe Louis was out there. You know what I'm saying? And Joe Louis's trainer,
he comes straight out of the Midwest. They had a lot more talent.
Yeah, them savages. They that's what I said about the black champions. They were out there like that, right? So Joe Louis's trainer, Thingy Blackburn, right? He fought Joe Gans. So he trained Joe Louis to fight similar to Joe Gans. That's how he modeled his style on Joe Gans. Because Joe Gans was like they say about Jennifer and Jill Corbett, he bought boxing the Queensborough rules, but the modern style boxing, if you go back, you'll look at Joe Gans. He was the quintessential model of what boxers are today. Joe Gans, the old master. So what he did, he modeled his style on that style, and they told him how to behave and all that stuff. But they didn't want like Jack Johnson, because Jack Johnson infuriated people, and they made Joe Louis a kind of
Jack Johnson's a modern Mayweather. I'm sorry, Mayweather's a modern
like Mayweather. It was more like Ali, Mayweather. Yeah, that kind of. I'm not taking no shit from the white establishment, but listen to this, right? So when Joe Louis, in my opinion, he's the modern day Anthony Joshua. That's the way I see him. Wilder with more cut like Jack Johnson and Ali. He tries to be more like that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to with the establishment, anti-establishment and stuff like that. That's why a lot of people, they enjoy that, but they also agree that he's technically Wilder's not good. But Joshua's more like Joe Louis in that regard. He doesn't like to upset people. He always says the right things and stuff like that. So anyway, going back to the black champions, when they finally got a shot, then you saw how they dominated for over a decade. Over a decade, he dominated. And listen to this. They try and say Vladimir Klitschko, he was going to beat Joe Louis's record. But I say this, how can Vladimir ever beat his record? He was never undisputed because his brother had the brother had the WBC belt. He never fought him, right? Obviously for whatever reasons, but he never went after the WBC belt ever. So he was never undisputed. He was unified all them years.
If he had the WBC and WBA, he could have had a case for it. But
exactly. That's why. And even think of this, right? The last undisputed champion is Lennox Lewis. If Lennox Lewis came out, right, and said he wanted to fight, he would be considered as the guy. That's what I'm saying. So when you're talking about the lineage is broken, the lineage, if it ain't fixed, then it stays there. So let me put this.
You got to be undisputed. You got to be undisputed.
Yeah. Lennox Lewis. So if you look at the last undisputed champion, then you could say that was Mayweather, because he's at every belt and he's in that not at the same time.
Nah, he wasn't good.
No, he was in effect.
I get your argument, but he wasn't.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying to you. But he obviously, why would he be so acclaimed if he came into the division now, even though he's old? They'd put him as number one. They'd have to put him as number one. You couldn't put anyone over him.
For several different reasons, though. There's several different reasons.
No,
one of them is he never lost. He was undefeated.
But that's the same thing as Jim Jeffries, right? Jim Jeffries, remember again, they didn't call him undisputed. Remember again, the undisputed term only came out when all these belts got split. It wasn't undisputed. They never had that word. It was just called champion. It was the champion. The undisputed, came because it was like all the belts. Like the first undisputed champ I remember was Mike Tyson. Because remember again, most of the fans in the 80s didn't understand all these different belts, and this guy's a champion. Because I remember Tim Witherspoon came over. into England and beat Frank Bruno, and they said he was a champion. But then they had Michael Spinks over there who beat Larry Holmes, and they said he was a champion. So it was confusing to the most common fans that where's all these belts and what's going on. Mike Tyson was the first guy to come in and clean that shit up. But even when he got all the belts, right, he wasn't considered as the best champion because that was Michael Spinks. So until Mike Tyson beat Michael Spinks, then he had everything. This is what I'm trying to say to you. So you can have all the belts all you like, but you ain't posted. The man thing still comes down to it. You need to beat the man who beat the man. So that goes down to Floyd.
If the man is there, because there are many times when the man wasn't there and you had undisputed champions.
Yeah, cool. But what I'm trying to say to you is that rather than undisputed, it wasn't called that. They used to call it the man. That's what I'm trying to say to you. There, it was the man who beat the man. They never said undisputed.
I get what you're saying, because until Evander Holyfield beat Mike Tyson,
he wasn't the man.
He wasn't considered the man. Yeah.
No, that's So what I'm trying to say to you, I'm changing the language. The old timers used the man. In the modern day, they used undisputed. But I'm telling you, it's the man. If you go by the man who beat the man concept, then you can just get cut through all the tape and get to the guy. So who's the man right now in heavyweight division?
Even then, if you think about Evander Holyfield, he beat the man that beat the man, but he still didn't get credit till he beat the man.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, you know exactly. You see, exactly. You see, even when he beat Buster Douglas, he didn't get that, and that's what I'm saying with Floyd. Floyd didn't. Yeah, exactly. Floyd didn't get no credit until he beat Manny Pacquiao. You saw what I'm gonna say to you, and even then, they didn't make him. They didn't even make him the fighter of the decade. Even then, after he beat Manny Pacquiao,
he made him fighter of the decade.
He wasn't. Manny Pacquiao was the fighter. No, Manny Pacquiao was the fighter of the decade.
No. Manny Pacquiao was fighter of the last decade. This decade that just went by, Mayweather.
Yes, Manny Pacquiao. Manny Pacquiao. No, Manny Pacquiao.
No, Mayweather got for this decade. This decade here.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. It's Manny Pacquiao. Yes. I'm telling you.
No, the Boxing Writers Association of America gave Floyd Mayweather the fighter of the decade.
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. They gave it to Manny Pacquiao. Go check. Yes, Manny Pacquiao. Yes. Yeah, give me. I'm telling you. Yeah, they did. I couldn't believe it myself. I couldn't believe it. They made Manny Pacquiao the fighter of the decade, man.
I'll show you. All
right, go ahead.
I'll bring it up.
Because all right, it depends who you ask. If you're talking about ESPN or they made Manny Pacquiao the fighter. No.
I'm talking about the Boxing Writers Association of America. That's the go-to Bible on who is fighter of the decade.
With ESPN, they made Manny Pacquiao, man. That's what I'm trying to say to you. This is the biasness, man. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's so ridiculous. It's hard to take them seriously. How are you going to give the guy when he lost against the guy? That's what I'm trying to say. They're so disrespectful. You know what I'm saying to you? Even like you said about Evander Holyfield, how you didn't make him the guy, but he wasn't in most people's eyes until he beat Mike Tyson. So that's how. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Floyd Mayweather wins fighter of the decade from the Boxing Writers Association of America. That's the Bible. That's where everybody go for it by that. There are other people who they listen to and stuff, but this is the one that, and he actually gets the award. You see him going up to take the award right there.
Okay, so, all right. We know what? We're cool, so right? Well, by the sports writers, fine. All right, full. So, but what I'm saying is that if you go to, I think it was maybe the other one. They had Manny Pacquiao, which I was outrageous about, right? But what I'm saying to you is this, right? These people are the ones who are supposed to be the custodians of the sport. But that's why me and you are more important than, because we have no really a biased agenda to cut through the tape. That's why when I mentioned the color championship, in effect, when the black people finally got a shot, you saw what it is. You saw the dominance of what it was, and you could imagine if Joe Louis wasn't considered one of the best ones there. They had guys like Sam Lemford, who was 5'6", and he started at lightweight, right? He beat every guy. Remember, there was no in between weight. He competed against every guy down there, and he was an absolute animal. And Jack Johnson, it was draws. So Jack Johnson didn't want to fight them guys again. He was like, nah, man, these guys are hard. They're gonna take everything from me. So I can see why he didn't fight them, right? Because it's like, and Joe Louis, the same thing. It's like, yo, I got so hard to get to this thing. I'm gonna continue beating the guys who they tell me to beat. But there was some savage black champions out there, man. So let's go to Sonny Liston. You look at Sonny Liston, right?
Bad motherfucker, man.
Yeah, but look at Sonny. Sonny Liston was one of them animals, man. But you see how Sonny Liston's so old. See, Sonny Liston was out there. He was a savage. And they would look, Floyd Patterson and Customato, they would Customato especially, he said, nah, don't fight him. Customato, in fact, he was the manager of Floyd Patterson. When Floyd Patterson faced him, he said, "No, I'm no longer going to be your manager," because he knew what was going to happen, because he weren't going to get no paydays. That's how much they made sure. Even when Floyd Patterson was champion, so Floyd said, "I'm gonna give him a shot because I don't like the way he's been treated and this and that." And Floyd gave me a shot, man.
Fair
You saw what
enough,
happened.
man. Kudos to
Yeah,
him.
but Floyd Patterson, think about this, right? If he was old when he fought Floyd Patterson, what about why didn't they give him a shot when he was younger? And then listen to this one. This will blow your mind even more. So you're talking about Rocky Marciano, right? And he fought Archie Moore. You know how old Archie Moore when he fought Rocky Marciano?
Yeah, 39.
All right.
He was 39 when he became champion.
Imagine that he went back down to light heavy. He at that fight, right? He beat Max. What's his name again? The guy who beat
Joey
Sugar Ray
Maxson.
Robinson. Joey Maxson. He beat Joey Maxson at light heavyweight, and the winner out of that was going to fight Rocky Moore, and then he moved up a weight. You know what I'm saying? So he had to come down to light heavy, then go back up to heavyweight. That's why he struggled with the weight. That's why he struggled, and they knew that going into the fight. Because when I was watching that, I go, this is what these people did to the guy. Because he goes out, I'm a TV fighter. The TV networks made him come down and up on the weights. They didn't make it easy for Thingy. And if it was 10 years earlier, he would have. He was a
dominant. He was a dominant
light heavyweight.
Exactly.
Really if you put Archie Moore against Rocky Marciano 10 years earlier, that's why Rocky retired, man. Rocky said, "Oh shit, this guy was old and he nearly busted me up, man."
Hey, he's a little guy. He was, Rocky's a little guy, but he was a heavyweight. That's what I'm trying
to tell you. And Ezra Charles,
blown up little dude.
And Ezra Charles was old again.
Killer.
He was light heavyweight again. Oh yeah, so he beat great fighters, but there was Sonny Liston was there. Think about it, Sonny Liston. He weren't that. Yeah. Sonny Liston was around. So why he fight Sonny Liston? He said, "Yo, I'm getting hell out of here, bro." Ow. If this old guy put me on the ground, I said, shit, there's some animals coming through. I don't know part of them, bro. And even the champion he beat, Jersey Joe Walker, was old, man. It was old. That's why people look at Rocky. Like, they kind of sneer. Now, Rocky beat who he beat.
But to his credit, Jersey Joe Walker was champ.
Old. Yeah, but he was that good.
Walker champion when he beat him, or was
he was. He was. They fought because remember they fought for each other 4 times, because Ezra Charles was there. But you see the thing is, they fought each other. But like I said, to stay away from the Sonny Listons. And listen, thinking about this, right? Cleveland Williams. So what happened to Big Cat Cleveland Williams? He was around. There was other. So how come when Ali became champion and all these savage black guys came out? Where did they come from? It was always there. It was always there, my man. They just avoided them, bro. They say, yo, I'm trying to say to you. So when you think about the boxing, right, and you try to be fair,
it's always been that way, though. It's always been that way.
They're savages.
It's lesser to that extent today.
Errol Spence was after Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman was after Floyd, right? Then Crawford's after Errol Spence. So you always got a next guy coming off the next guy. The next guy said, well, I don't want to fight you because I got, you know what I'm saying? But you see what the guys we credit.
Errol Spence is not afraid to face Crawford. I disagree with that part.
Yeah, he is.
I think he respects him.
He is. Yeah, he don't know part of Crawford, man. He said Crawford when you get a belt, then we can come see each other. Crawford get a belt, right? So what's going on? Right. You know that, right? So you need to do something. You know what I'm saying? Don't let Brad. And the thing is, made me laugh about Kell Brook, right? So Kell Brook, because he stole the belt off, in my opinion, even though he won, he stole the belt of not Kell Brook. Kell Brook stole the belt of Sean Porter. But why did he give Sean Porter a rematch, dog? Why you give him a rematch? You beat the belt.
That's a good question. Even though he dominantly won, but when I look at the fight, Sean Porter kind of tripped up his own self, in my opinion.
He overestimated him. He underestimated him. I agree.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is that like the IBF, they were wrong at that point because they just took him out of their sanctioning body, and
they took him out of rankings.
This is a good Porter is though. Porter, look what he's done since then, and look what Kell Brook did. You know what I'm saying? That shows you what he is. Eddie Hearn went and ruined that guy's career. Kell Brook. You know why he didn't
have by Triple G?
Yeah, he ruined it. Eddie Hearn was supposed to fight. What's his name? Jesse Vargas, right? And Eddie Hearn said Jesse Vargas asked him for too much money because Eddie didn't want to. Eddie's an accountant, they're stingy, so they didn't want to give the money for. Jesse was asking for like $5 million. Eddie goes, too much money. Should have gave the money. Kell would have beat in my opinion, Kel would have beat Jesse Vargas, and he would have been a unified champion. So Eddie sorted the fight with Eubank and Triple G, and he didn't even look embarrassed. So he threw Kel underneath the bus and threw his welterweight champion against the middleweight champion, and you saw he went up. And I talked to Kevin Lewisham at the time, who fought Felix Trinidad, and he said he ain't got no shot, bro. He goes, when he starts taking the middleweight punches, he gonna wish he wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? And he fought Trinidad.
He broke his eye, man. Broke his eye.
Yeah, man. And then he come back down.
Let me just get to the people in the comment section for 1 second. EJ, really good talk. I mean, EJ breaking that knowledge on us. You know, shout out one time to Holy Inferno. He said that his phone died off. That's why he came off the chat. Shout out to Inferno, really great guy. Get This Smoke is up in the chat section saying peace, y'all. Tommy Temper saying let's go what you need. Tommy Temper, big support to you, brother, for giving me this information on this thing. We also got here some people expressing their opinions. Tommy Temper says lineal does not have a commitment, unlike a real strap. There is a strap for lineal from the ring, though. Get This Smoke. He's giving Tommy pounds. Intangible Boxing says lineal is too subjective, meaning I guess how people interpret it, because we got different lineages, right? Different bodies. Tommy Temper says, EJ, you made great points about Undisputed, which is very true. Intangible Boxing News says in the multi-belt era, and then he didn't finish his thought. Get The Smoke says first Undisputed was Ali, I remember. Well, that's the first Undisputed person he remembered. The WBC and the WBA. I think it was Joe Frazier. No, it was Ali. Nope, it wasn't Ali either. But anyway, that's another story for another day, because we had the WBC and WBA come into existence in 1963. 1962, the WBA coming off of the NABA and the WBC coming off of the New York State Athletic Commission, right? Manny Floyd was pissed. That's a long story. I gotta break the truth about Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. They always call Floyd Mayweather a ducker and cherry picker. That's not true at all. I'm not talk about that, but that's another story for another day. And Pacquiao, by the way, anyway, I don't want to talk about it. I'll talk about that some other time. Anson, your camera froze. Reset. The rationale was Mayweather retired. Manny fought the whole time. You're good now. Let me on the panel. Says Get This Smoke. Get the Smoke. Jump up on the panel. We can hold at least 3 people. I can't control more than 3. It gets crazy. EJ Boxing Live breaking that knowledge. We got EJ Boxing Live in the building. We had Holy Inferno in the building. Shout out to Holy Inferno for coming up, showing your face. I like people to show their face so people can know who they are. Nobody's gonna hunt you down and kill you on this feed. We support people who are here, and you get to talk as much as you want without getting interrupted. I only interrupt you if I have to talk about the people in the chat. So I just want to give much love to the people in the chat. All these people have always been supportive. Holy Inferno, you raised some really good points, and I hope you're listening to the feed still. Oh, we got Get This Smoke up in the chat, Ariel. Man, I gotta get some music for you guys.
Yeah, so I wanted to jump on earlier, but you didn't catch me backstage. But I'm glad, I get to shut down this whole Spence is scared of Crawford. What in your rabid mind are you talking about? He told it to his face. I promise you, I will bury you. At no point was there any kind of scared business. As a matter of fact, sure, but Crawford's like, if you give me an offer right now, I'm not taking that fight. He said, I will fight you. He's like, I have a lot of guys that I just talked to Al Heyman about, right? But I will stop fighting those guys and fight you 60-40. And you know what your boy said? Nah, 50-50. At what point do you stop with this ridiculous narrative that Errol the True Spence is afraid of anybody?
Right. Just mute your mic when you're finished. So that's EJ Boxing Live. Whoa, Get the Smoke. You gone? Okay, y'all. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna shut this one down on this topic, and we're gonna begin with this Errol Spence versus Terrence Crawford. That's what you guys want to do. But with respect to Get This Smoke, Tommy Temper says, "Get This Smoke, go get him." He's putting boxing gloves on. Well, me personally, I don't think anybody's afraid of anyone. I think it has to do with it's just so difficult to make those fights in a kind of way, in the sense that Terrence is signed with ESPN, and that's pretty, and then he's got Top Rank, and then Errol. I don't know what he is. If he's a free agent like Deontay Wilder, he's cool to go. He could jump on anywhere. But if he's with PBC, Showtime, Fox, then it's gonna be, you know, it's just a little bit tricky. And they was just saying the money. But EJ got a point. EJ got a point. Errol Spence said, "Get a strap, and we're gonna fight." And he got a strap, and they ain't fighting. Okay, so that is a very important point EJ has. That's true. I don't think he's ducking, but I always said I don't think a fighter ducking, and they might be ducking. You know what I'm saying? But Errol got 2 straps, and hopefully we get that fight because I really want to see it now. I think that Terrence Crawford is definitely a full-fledged welterweight. I think he's definitely shown all kinds of sides of him. He could be a dog if you want to be. You know, he can walk through your punches and just get you, or he can be, you know, technical and box you, and he can box you on the inside, on the outside. So he's southpaw. You know, I was just listening to Sean Porter, and Sean Porter was talking about how Get the Smoke is back on the stream. Yeah. Okay. So what I'm gonna do, because you guys might want to really go into it with this, is I can just shut down the stream, start back the next stream real quick, and you guys can go at it concerning this Terrence Crawford.
No, I don't need to go. Don't need to go on it. Let me ask you a question. Thing you were saying Ali wasn't undisputed. You need to explain that one because that's the one that went through. You said he wasn't undisputed. Go ahead.
Ali
No, he was the first undisputed. The first time I remember that whole undisputed title thing was when he got it back from Leon Spinks, right? But the very first time I think I've seen the very first time I've seen the lineal versus the undisputed was when the Joe Frazier versus Ali fight happened. But it was just once he got back the titles from Leon Spinks that I heard somebody talk about how he's the undisputed champ, and that was like my first time hearing about it. Right?
No, I was talking to what you need. He said Ali wasn't undisputed. That's what he said. So
I didn't say he wasn't. I didn't say he wasn't.
What did you say?
I said he wasn't the first undisputed.
Oh, okay. All right. Cool.
The first undisputed it was either a toss up between Liston and Ali, right? Because that was the first fight. The very first undisputed fight the Ali Liston fight, right?
No. The first undisputed was Ezra Charles and Joe Louis. That was the first undisputed because he wasn't when Joe Louis Ezra
this
Charles.
Is after Jack Johnson you're talking about, right? After Jack Johnson.
No. Ezra Charles and Joe Louis. No. When Ezra Charles beat who was in front of him, they didn't recognize him as a champion. They balanced it. That was the first undisputed champion because I think it was the NABA belt. Because remember, Joe Louis retired and Ezra Charles was fighting. He came up. He was claimed as heavyweight, but they didn't recognize
NABA or was it the NYSC and NABA?
But when he beat Joe Louis. When he beat Joe Louis, then that was the first undisputed. So it was Ezra Charles. But go ahead.
But Joe Louis was undisputed as well. He had the
Joe Louis retired. He retired. No, he retired undefeated. He's not undefeated. He retired with his 25 defense, and then when he retired, they had to fight each other. So what I'm saying is that at that point, remember again the lineage at that point. You know, they had to fight for it. So you know that because remember again, like the undisputed champion, they remember there was only one belt, but when Joe Louis thing, the belt got split, and they brought. This is when the NBA came in. That's when it came in, and that Ezra Charles won that. But that's what you see Ezra Charles with that belt.
No, NBA was way back in 19. Okay, so I don't know if Sharkey versus thing had the.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah, they had the 2 belts. Schmeling got the 2 belts. He got the NYSC and the
exactly.
and the NBA.
Exactly.
It was vacant.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying to you. So what I'm saying is that when Joe Louis retired, that's when he got it back, the undisputed. So that would be there.
Right. So did they call it? Did they call that undisputed then?
Yeah. They did. They actually did.
Called it undisputed even before that with the Schmeling and thing.
No, but you see this though. But that's officially what I know because they didn't recognize Ezra Charles as the champion, even though he was the champion because he didn't beat Joe Louis and the other belts. So when he did that, then they won the NBA. Yeah, I know. When they gave him, remember again, the Ring Magazine belt was the belt that looked like the old-fashioned championship belts, and they awarded him that after that. That's what I'm saying. That's what you see Joe Louis and
he beat I think he rematched Jersey Joe. What happened? I can't remember. He rematched Jersey Joe. Jersey Joe beat him.
No. That's after. I'm talking about No, you know, sorry, you're right. Yeah, because that's how he got the belt. You're right. That's it. That's right.
Yeah.
That's how he got the belt. Yeah, yeah. But he wasn't they weren't recognized until thing in it. You know what I'm saying? But that's how they is.
Because they
You see this
added
what
the
I'm
other
saying?
belt. They added the other belt, the NYSC.
Yeah, that's when. That's what. Yeah, yeah. Then
Yeah.
you got recognized, and then him and Jose, they kept going backwards and forwards with each other. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But then they that's when old what's his name? Old Jose Walcott fought
Knock him out, boy. He
Yeah,
set him up and knock him out.
Rocky knocked out. Well, they got Rocky to knock out Joe Lewis, old guy, and then they got him to knock out another old Jersey Joe Walcott, and then Ezra Charles light heavyweight and Archie Moore light heavyweight. They didn't care, like you know how they are back then. They didn't care if he was old, and they weren't gonna bring no big Sonny Liston, no big guy like that to come in. They weren't bringing them because they were there. Like you know what I'm saying? Like you can't have look at it right. Man like Cleveland Williams had over 100 fights, so he must have had 30 fights in there round when Thing was a champion. They were there, man. Them guys were there.
I don't think they allowed them to get up to the rankings to the level where they could be contenders.
Where the gangsters used to hold.
Rocky didn't stick around. Rocky didn't stick around long enough.
No, it's the gang. No, it's the gangsters, man. No, the gangsters. Yeah, the Italian mob. They were going to decide who had the belts, and if you weren't with them, you weren't getting a shot. That's how boxing was. It was mob control. So that's what I'm trying to say to you. Is like they're the one decides all the fights, and so it's hard, yeah, to say like the number one contenders and this and that. Like you got a guy called it was a middleweight champion.
Do you think that Jersey Joe Walker or them guys they threw fights because of the mob? You think that's what happened with Rocky? Is it possible?
I can't say. That's a good point. That's a very good point, bro.
Think about it. I just thought about it.
I don't know who would take that shot in the face, man. Well, maybe Ezra Charles, because Ezra Charles and you see what Ezra Charles? Did you see the first fight what Ezra Charles did to Rocky? You see what he did to his face? But he busted him up, man. He's
not even a real heavyweight. He's not a real.
Right, exactly. That's how good he was. I think he's the greatest light heavyweight. This Rocky. Think about it, right? They made sure that when Archie Moore went up there, he fought Joey Maxson at light heavyweight. He did what Roy Jones did, bouncing up and down the weights, right? Remember the cruiserweight division, right past the cruiserweight division, didn't exist. And back up. So they knew when he was coming in that he wasn't. Even the old, you see Rocky's face when he got put on the ground. Rocky couldn't believe it, bro. The way Rocky got put down on the ground, he said, "After that shit, I'm out of here, bro. I'm out of here. I'm done." That's what I'm saying. It's like, yo, bro, I'm done with this shit, bro. Because that guy was old, bro. That's what I'm gonna say. How devastating some of them old timers were, man. They had like 200. Like
not just any old timer. These were the most avoided old timers. We're talking about the murderers, right? Old timers. That's anybody.
But this is what I'm gonna say to you. So think about it, right? So someone like Archie Moore, he come in the footsteps after them the color champion. That's why I said the color championships. That's the shit. If them white champions could beat the color champions, because the only other color champion who fought them was Harry Greb. Harry Greb beat Tiger Flowers. Tiger Flowers
came back and whooped his ass though.
Tiger Flowers beat him in the first. Tiger Flowers beat him in the first. Yeah, exactly. No one. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Tiger Flowers is one of them guys, and the only reason he got a shot is because he was religious. Is the fighting deacon. Because he was religious, and they said, he asked for a shot, and even Harry Greb was rude. They said, Harry Greb's our fight, because Harry Greb, he didn't care. That's why people give him so much credit, because he didn't mind fighting black fighters, bro. So he gave him a shot, man, and that fight was wild, bro. Man was thumbing him and all kinds of cursing and this, that, the other, man, and he just kept on it, and he decisioned him. But then he lost. He lost later on. He lost to the Toy Bulldog, who they made it a 10-rounder. When all the fights previously was 15 and 20 rounds, but then when he came to New York, they made it 10 rounds, and then he lost then they took the belt. You see how they changed the rules when he came to New York, because that's how they are, man. That's what I'm saying to you. But so that's what I'm saying. Like most of them black champions, they were some bad dog. Not saying the white champions, but end of the day, if you feel like you're the best, then fight the best. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I ain't got nothing more to say about certain people will get. Like Guillermo Rigondeaux. They made Rigondeaux just to get a paycheck. He went up to fight Lomachenko. You know what I'm saying? That's HU just to get a paycheck because no one wants to fight him. And I think Bob Arum and them guys wanted to punish Rigo for beating Donaire. You know what I'm saying?
Not just Rigo, Gamboa, who's now getting fights. Look how long Gamboa had to wait to get a fight.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah, the WBA stripped Rigo though of his championship in a completely different weight class, which doesn't make any sense. As a matter of fact, this whole this upcoming fight with Tank and Leo supposed to be at 130, but apparently Tank's 135 belt is on the line too. Like, how is that supposed to work?
Yeah, America doesn't like Cubans, man. They don't want Cubans to shine, bro. That's it. They don't care. They ain't trying to make no Cuban, no Bobo champions. After the embargo of Fidel Castro, ain't no Cuban champion shining out here. They don't care what they go do, bro. In America, they ain't shining. They ain't shining.
You know what?
Even Lara.
I don't know if it's an American thing because Rigo was shining in America.
Lara got robbed, man. He got robbed against Paul Williams, man. He beat Paul Williams. He got robbed. If you look at the Cubans, yeah, but after the embargo of Fidel Castro, how many of them have been very successful? Rigo's probably one of the last there. What's his name again? Yo Casamayor. He was very good as well. Like, how many of them are really? Lara's pretty good, but he getting robbed, man. Most people had him beating Canelo. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think he did, but like most people did have him beating Canelo.
Yunieski Gonzalez, remember that dude? He got stopped by I think it was Bevo. But he gave Jean Pascal a really great fight. I thought he won.
Who's that guy who beat Kolev? Busted up. Was he Cuban? Or was that guy who beat Kolev? Was he Cuban?
Barrera?
Yeah.
Oh,
where
Elite Alvarez? No, he Colombian.
Oh, Colombian. Yeah, he's a bad. He's a savage, man.
Colombian Panamanian. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that guy. Wood knew what time it was. He got the hell out of there, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's it, yo? He's savage. That light heavyweight division is that light heavyweight division is tasty, bro. That light heavyweight division is tasty. They got some.
I always thought Barrera was a little overrated for me, but
he beat the shit out of Kolev. Shit, beat Kolev. Kolev was the best. Yeah, man, he bust up. They're all good. I feel the light heavyweight division is one of the best in the division because they can all beat each other. It ain't like one guy can dominate. It's just amalgamation of different savages. You know what I'm saying? Like Burby.
Yeah, you got Ramirez up in there. You got everybody. Everybody's up in there right now.
Mirrors ain't even for. Okay, after this thing, Mirrors needs to fight somebody. James DeGale, like, bro, he's just like, yo, what a waste, man. You know
DeGale's up in there?
Nah, I'm saying James DeGale and Ramirez should have fought, man. He should have fought. He didn't want to fight Ramirez. He lost to that. What's it? Caleb Truex.
Truex, yeah, which is it just?
Hey, you see Eubank get beat by Matt Carbo. He was getting beat. He was getting his ass beat, bro. He was getting
Charlo.
Korbov is not bad, and especially early in the fight, Korbov has still got something. You know, Korbov's all right, actually.
He was beating the shit out of Eubank, man. Eubank was lucky he tear his shoulder because he was about to get his ass whooped, bro. I see Eubank's face. Eubank ain't. See, Eubank's like Yard, right? If you look at his amateur, he only competed in the box cup, but he never really challenged himself in the amateurs. He's just acting the attitude. He ain't about it, bro. You got a lot of guys on there, they're trying to fake it till they make it. You know what I'm saying?
I know about that. He's training with Roy right now.
I don't care who you training with, bro. You ain't got no pedigree. You young, you fit. But you ain't done no amateur pedigree, bro. Like real talk. Amateur. Even Tank here. See the word Tank and something. They've had like 300 amateur fights. If you've done that much, then you know you could probably scrap, regardless of going to the Olympics or whatever. But there's a lot of experience. So what I'm saying is that Eubank ain't got that. That's what I'm saying. That's why he bottled himself out the Triple G fight. Triple G would have killed that young kid, bro. And they put Kell Brook in there. He would have killed that kid on TV. We'd have seen a murder. You know what I'm saying? He would have killed that kid, bro.
Let me ask you guys a question. Are you guys?
He's a big kid. He's huge.
Do you guys want to see now that we got Charlo Derevyanchenko? Do you want to see Eubank versus Andrade?
Oh yeah, I see Eubank get his ass whipped. Eubank gonna get his ass whipped, bro.
I mean, I don't know if he'll whoop his ass. He's strong, you know. He's a big middleweight. He's strong. He can take punishment.
Eubank gonna get his ass whooped, bro. He ain't serious, man. That kid ain't serious. He's just
Andrade is a bad boy.
He see it in England, right? In England, they had a pay-per-view with James DeGale. Right, people, I paid for it. Everyone's stunk up. No, in England, he's right. Yeah, what's that?
That was Al Heyman with his first, foray into.
Yeah, that was fine. No, that was fine. But England, Eubank, he stunk up England so badly that they have to go to America because no one's gonna pay for England. Eubank, no, we had enough of his rubbish, bro. You know what I mean? We had enough of it, so they thought, we go to America, and because America don't know us, we can make money. Yeah, well, you're gonna go over there in the proving ground. You're gonna see what it is. I'm gonna go back to this, right? America still has savages out there, bro. It still has savages out there. They say the UK is there. Annie Joshua's there, Tyson Fury. But I'm gonna put it to this right. These guys ain't fighting. Let me put it like this. See, you think Tyson Fury wants to fight Ruiz? You know what I'm saying? Like I know most people have Tyson. He don't want to fight. He was struggling against them other potato heads. So put Ruiz in there. Let's see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Dillian White and all them guys there. I don't like some of their chances against some of them other guys, them Americans, man. I'm talking about American fighters. You know what I'm saying? Why you fight while you wait?
I'm spinning out for a minute. You guys keep on chopping it up. Shout out to the chat section. Tommy Temper talking about Margarito. I don't know what that has to do with anything. And 1962.
Yeah, I was saying to you, so America's still got some savages out there, right? But you know, it comes down to the training. Like I talked to Mike Stanford. It's all about developing young up and coming guys. But you guys, when you got all them sports like American football, basketball, where you can pay more money, you don't get hurt. That's where all the athletes are going. You know what I mean? America, boxing ain't like it don't need no boxing. Don't need to be the best. Back in the days, that was it, man. But now you got all the other sports. That I mean, baseball used to be America's pastime. So in England, right, we put all our efforts in that, but we still are not the best apart from the heavyweight division right now. The best in any one division. Like I think 140. What's his name again? The Scottish guy, Josh Taylor. He got to fight thing, bro. He got to fight that Mexican over there. What's his name? Then we see what's going on. Is it Ramirez or his name is?
Yeah, Ramirez. He's from Cali too.
Yeah, I ain't giving no. I don't like his chances in there. And let's go to where are the other UK champions, right? And you look at where they at. You know what I'm saying? Like when they gonna fight Americans in their prime? Why are you waiting for Wilder to mess up? You know what I'm saying? Why they ain't gonna fight the Americans when the Americans are hot? You know what I'm saying? You gonna wait until they fade out. I'm not trying. Look, I'm a UK. I'm from the UK, but I just want to see people fighting people at their best, not when they're faded. You know what I mean? I don't really like it. But anyway, we're gonna see some good fight with Dillian fighting Povetkin, and you know, my guy who runs my gym that I came out of, he's the head trainer now with Dillian. So we're gonna see that fight real soon. But to answer your question, Smoke, man, to answer your question, Smoke, about the Errol Spence and the I haven't really got no dog in the race. I'm just going by what I saw at the time. Now, even if I think he's scared of him, right? Whatever, I want to see the fight. So regardless, I haven't really got a favoritism. Like Errol Spence, I like him. I like Crawford. But what I'm saying, from what I saw in the net, where he asked him to get a belt, he got a belt. So why ain't the fight happening? Now you can say all the roadblocks, and the bottom line is Errol Spence, yeah, in my opinion, when he had that road accident, there's no way he wants to get in there with Crawford. Like, we don't even know what Errol Spence is gonna be. So he ain't gonna be the best. If they had that fight, maybe next year, I don't like Errol Spence's chances. If they had the fight before, I thought, yeah, you know, it would be pretty good. But he said something, and then more or less he fought. You know, he went and fought Porter. So you know, whether I say he's scared of him, I can't really say. All right, I did say he was scared of him, but I can say that at the point it came across. He asked him to do something, he did it. And so why in the fight ain't happening? So that's really my point. You know what I'm saying? They did have a conversation, but like I said, you could read into it back and forward. But the networks and all the other people, they put in roadblocks in. But like Errol Crawford approached him, it wasn't like Errol went out his way to find Crawford. So I haven't really got no dog in the race when it comes regards to that. So in terms of like how I see that, I want to see the fight, and that's it.
So I definitely want to see the fight. I like both of the guys a lot. I know that they both are just, you know, building a fight, and that was part of it. But it's not like Crawford went to see Errol. That was a top ranked card, right? that was at a Murray's Hooker fight, right? And Hooker's from Texas, but he's out of Bojack's gym. He's on the top ranked thing. Like, he went specifically, told him, yeah, I knew I was going to see you here. They went to the catacomb. They talked their good shit. If anything from that, what I got out of it was Bob Arum wasn't trying to make that fight. And, those two guys seem to be like Gamecocks, right? And that's really all I was saying. Like, I don't think either one of those dudes are afraid at all. I think that Terrence Crawford doesn't really give a damn about Errol Spence, that he just wants to be unified champ. And I think Errol Spence also wants to be the unified champ, but he also was trying to get his pockets together.
Okay, well, I look at it like this, right? It's like a what's he call it again? A domino effect, right? Keith Thurman wanting to fight Floyd, Errol Spence wanting to fight Keith Thurman, and Crawford wants to fight Errol Spence, right? And it's like, yo, I've seen it before with Carl Froch wanted to fight Steve Collins. Steve Collins wanted to fight Roy Jones, and it just goes on and on. They be doing this in boxing for a while. It's like they're only focused on their goal, and he wanted to fight Keith Thurman, and Keith Thurman ain't around no more. Keith Thurman wanted to fight his legendary fight because they want the biggest purses. Now, Errol Spence looks at Crawford and said, "Well, boy, he was there at that division, but now I like he's like, I'm the man here, bro. Like, why I need to fight you? You need to go prove yourself. All right, so you go get a belt. He beat Hornet. He beat the guy who beat Pacquiao. Fine, but Spence is like, all right, cool. Let me go and fight Porter. Pick another belt. I'm gonna see what else is happening. So guys have their own roads and their own agendas. Like Crawford, Spence don't look at Crawford, even though he approached him or whoever approached, they have their own goals of what they want to do. Now, us as the fans, right? We're like, yo, that would be a good fight. But Errol Spence's goal is like, well, boy, well, Furman's gone now. What else I want to do? Well, Pacquiao's still here with Al Heyman. I want to fight. Let me try and get a legend. Let me try and get a legend on my resume. And in the meantime, let Crawford get a bit older and get a bit thin, because that's all it is. That's what happens in this boxing game. All they want to do is long each other out like they did to old Archie Moore. Make sure he's 10 years down the thing, and that wasn't good enough. They said to him, look, you need to go fight Joey Max at light heavyweight, then come back up here and then we'll fight you. That's how this game's going on. A poor old Roy Jones, I don't know, Roy Jones, they told Roy Jones to equal what Bob Fitzsimmons did, right? So when he beat Joe Maurice, they say, wouldn't it be great if you go back down to light heavyweight and do what Bob Fitzsimmons wasn't fighting the caliber fighters that you were fighting, and it was, how you know the level they used to fight 40 rounds and hold and shit. And Roy the dumbass went back down to light heavyweight, and you saw what happened, messing with the weight. So what I'm saying is that this is a game of chess and checkers and paychecks, and all they're doing is they ain't trying to fight the best. They ain't doing it these days. People are counting their pockets, seeing how much money I can make, and that's what they've been doing. But with this Corona thing, what's happened? I think people are getting perspective, like, yo, bro, time's running out in my career, bro. I need to get some fights in there, bro. I need to get some legacy fights, and that's ultimately when it comes down to. Now, they're talking about the UK. Tommy's in there about the UK, about the media. There's legacy fights. How many UK in legacy fights? I think the last one was Carl Froch, man. Not other than that, most of the UK guys ain't trying to fight the legend like Ricky Hatton beat Costa Zoo and stuff like that. But most of the guys ain't trying to fight the legends, man. They ain't trying to do that no more. And forget that. In boxing in general, how many guys are trying to go after the legends, man? Legend killers.
So right. So there's a lot to unpack there, right? So first, there's a log jam. Like, to say that because Spence didn't fight Crawford, the best aren't fighting the best at welterweight, I don't think that is the case at all, right? So Errol Spence might have been the more dangerous guy, but not the Crawford. Even before Crawford was in the division, there was Thurman, Garcia, Porter trying to, figuring out how to fight. And some of those combinations have, right? Porter fought both Thurman and Garcia. Garcia fought both Porter and Thurman. Thurman, it's just that, and Porter fought Spence. And Garcia is supposed to fight Spence. Thurman, the unified guy, took some time off. Another guy has come up in the meantime, in the division, Crawford, right? But I think the best fights are still happening in the division. It's just that people want this one fight to be next and then pan everything else if that fight isn't next, right? For me, that's what I think is happening. I do think the best are fighting the best. I don't know that Thurman versus Spence would have been, as big a fight, or as the Garcia or the Porter fight at the time. Certainly not the Crawford fight. Crawford still, for me, I think, is still struggling to find his place in the boxing market, right? In American psyche and people's psyche, right? He's a great fighter. To me, he's the most complete fighter out there. But his what is it? It's not just his level of competition. There's just something. I don't know. There's just something missing from what Crawford is doing that's just able to capture the imagination of the people. He's knocking everybody out, but they don't care about the fact he's knocking these people out. I don't know. Crawford to me is the kind of, he's a situation where you got purists who don't care about what the media says or what anything, they see the guy, the complete fighter, and they're going, let that guy fight. Why isn't that guy fighting? Meanwhile, you have guys who are as accomplished, who the people have been waiting to fight forever. Like, forget Spence Crawford, right? I've been waiting for Pacquiao Crawford since before either one of them were like, I've been waiting for that fight for years. And for me, as a Crawford fan, I don't mind him getting money fights. I don't mind him being acclimated to the weight. I don't mind whatever path he's on, as long as that fight happens while they're in their prime. I don't think it's a situation where Spence is trying to age him out because of the two sides. It's only Spence who's even tendered a verbal offer to Crawford, and it was Crawford who actually declined and also said, "I'm not trying to fight you, even if they gave me an offer next." So I don't know how that equals Spence is trying to age out Crawford.
I just want to interject here. Nothing to do with Spence versus Crawford. Just some of the comments in the comment section from Tommy Temper. He said, "How much ground has the U.S. markets lost out to the other boxing markets?" And then he said, "Spence is running like an injured animal, Smoke." Then he said, "Frutch is a throwback." And then he finally said, "The best fighting the best, often enough for your liking, Smoke." So all of that came out in the comment section.
Right.
Tommy, you can jump on here if you want to, Tommy.
Yeah, because I don't have my dual screen right now, and the only way that the best could fight the best is if there's plural, right? And I think that should also extend to just more than one fight. If you look at the WBC, the tournament, I'm not saying Gamboa is the best, right? So let me just take out Devin Haney and Gamboa. But if you look at Fortuna versus Linares, that's not the most exciting fight, but those are, or Ryan Garcia versus Campbell, those are the best at their weight class. Those are if you got Tio and Loma fighting.
I mean, I would say
about that, right? I would say about that, right? Them guys are still kind of they're trying to establish their grounds or thing. Remember the initial conversation about like we was talking about undisputed and these guys, the best, the man who beat the man who beat the man and all that stuff there. These guys are trying to think their own goal, but boxing in this day, yeah. So like De La Hoya, that's why I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. In this Corona thing, I like watching fighters in the early 2000s because there was a period where guys were trying to be undisputed, guys are trying to fight legacy fights, they were trying to fight the best, and they were trying to cement their career. Like there's a lot of guys in the early 2000s, from 2005, Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, Oscar De La Hoya, Felix Trinidad, and all them guys there. They say, "Yo, who's the legend up here? Who's the best here?" Well, yeah, I'm going straight for him. No confusion, nothing, bro. Like, you know what I mean? And I can even when Don King, back in the days, yeah, when he had a lot of fighters, they were like, "Yo, who's the best in the division? Where you at?" I'm going straight for him. Even Paul Williams, I give him credit. He went straight for Margarito. You know what I'm saying? Now, Canelo's there and all the stuff where he going with there. Is he fighting a bit? He beat Triple G, who's considered the best. Fine, yeah. But what else is going on? You went up to light heavyweight. You beat Kolarov in a catch weight, whatever. But you beat Kolarov, right? So why you stay there? Why you stay there and stay with them beasts down in the light heavyweight division? You know what I'm saying? Guys are constantly picking guys not at their best to get a little brownie points and skip back down to their division and hide away, man. So you got a lot of that going on in boxing, and rightly so. People need to be called out for it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like Fury, I still look at Fury, even though he beat Wilder. More to do with he beat him. Okay, he beat Wilder. Forget all the other stuff. I still look at him and say, "Yo, bro, he beat Wilder fair and square, right? So let's see what you do in the third fight, bro. Let's see if Wilder can make adjustments and come back and get his belt. I think he can. I think they can probably have a full fight if Wilder puts it on him, because Wilder can still punch and stuff. But Fury came back and got his belt. So Fury, if you look at in the heavyweight division, shit, like you can't say he ain't fighting the best. Now he scraped past the Klitschko fight. In the first fight, he got put on his back, but he came back off his back to put Wilder back on his back. So he definitely is going after fighting the best. So I'm talking about that level of thing. And then now they're talking about him and Joshua. So that's one man in there in that division saying, "Yo, I want all the best." Because a lot of people feel they can beat him as well. That's why it's easy to make the fights with him. And he's easy. He ain't putting barriers up or nothing. You know what I mean? Man's been through depression. I'm talking about that level of, well, I'll fight the best. You know what I mean? Wilder was at his prime. There was nothing wrong with Wilder. There was nothing wrong with Wilder when he got that fight. Hell no, there was nothing wrong with Klitschko when he fought that fight either. That's one guy I can say he's after if you're trying to fight the best out there. I'm talking about that level where there's no excuses coming into the fight. There ain't no catch working. There's no stipulations. You know what I'm trying to say to you? Fuck the belts. Let's fight. Let's 50-50. You know, he ain't hard on negotiations either. Shit, we split the shit down the middle with Wilder. He don't try and get a chunk, and we fight. That's what I'm talking about. That's where it needs to be, bro. You know what I mean? But I've been saying that.
I have a question. Right. No, just what you're saying, right? And then go back and this whole lineal and division champions, like how do the Costa Zoo, not Costa Zoo, sorry, who beat Costa Zoo? Ricky Hatton versus Manny Pacquiao. That fight, right? That was for only the Ring magazine and the IBO, right? So, but that still counted as one of the divisions that Manny Pacquiao is a champion of, even though he didn't actually beat a guy who had a title from a recognized sanctioning body. So, right. So, you have the real lineal, which we were just talking about, like the guy who beat the guy, but then you have the Ring magazine lineal, which you can actually lose by, inactivity or failing a drug test or something like that. Right. So how is it? So, Ring magazine, how is that organization just seen across the board by fight fans? Like, how are we accepting that all you need is a ring belt in order to be considered a champion? Or a lineal status, right? So Hatton actually beat Costa Zoo, right? So Costa Zoo was a unified guy. He beat when he beat Zab Judah, right? So he was actually undisputed. So he was a new lineal. So you had the real lineal and also the ring belt.
So I wanted to add again. See, this is why I keep on talking about undisputed. Even though we talked about, all the past fighters who, you class them differently for undisputed. At one point, a person was officially undisputed. All right. From that point on, you got that lineage coming from that person until there's a break in it again. All right. The problem with lineal champion is it's not easy to define, because different people have different opinions of it. Like you said, the Ring magazine has their own lineal champion, their own way of describing it, whereas Transnational Board has a different way of looking at lineage. So where the Ring magazine does not recognize Shane Mosley as a lineal champion at the time when he faced Floyd, another organization would recognize him as a lineal champion. Because of those discrepancies, I cannot see lineal champions as being world champions recognized. There's a fixed system for how undisputed is today. You see what I'm saying? As much as
I think the research, right? It's just all these different sanctioning bodies equals more champs equals harder to discern who's the man, especially when there's fewer undisputed champs. So you get a bunch of title holders.
But what my point is this. My point is that there's a system in place at present. Yes, there are a number more sanctioning bodies which determine how the undisputed is, but there's an agreement among those bodies for that. Whereas there is no agreement on how the lineage of a lineal champion is being passed through. And because of this sort of uncertainty in that, that is why it's not recognized like that. It's an honorary title and it's been around forever, but at the same time, it's not recognized today like that. That's what I'm saying. Right. Right. So doesn't mean that you're not making valid points and EJ's not making valid points. When we're looking at judging championship fights and we're talking about guys who had how many championship titles, it is understood today that that is world titles. It's not world titles that are recognized according to certain bodies. In different eras, it would be less. The real true titles really are the WBC and WBA. The other two sanctioning bodies came off of the WBA. So they're like redundant. But if you really want to talk about undisputed, if you want to go in that argument, then it's really just the WBC and WBA. They've been around for like God knows how long. So if you just want to stay with those two, you could do that as well, right? But at the end of the day, this is just the system that's in place right now. So I'm just letting people recognize that.
I think the original system still can be followed. It just takes a lot more work because of the situation that is now in boxing. There's just so many more champs, right? And then there's just all of these different opportunities. So the idea that it's the man that beat the man, I think is still sound. And I also think a new lineage is established when there's a new undisputed is still sound, right? The question is, since they don't have a distinction between, since they're just saying lineal, there's all of these it's just a phrase, right? So there's all these different organizations that are used that phrase to market their own brand, and that is the confusion. But I don't think that confusion needs to necessarily water down the efficacy or the water down the accomplishments when a person actually achieves what historically everybody understands is the lineal way, right? So and that's I guess that's my thing about the Costa Zoo versus Manny Pacquiao fight. Not Costa Zoo, sorry, Ricky Hatton versus Manny Pacquiao. Like that fight, it was an undisputed. It was between an undefeated fighter at 140, who was the champion and was the lineal champion, who had never lost at 140, but he did lose at 147. So the man was beaten, but just not necessarily in that division. Like, how does that work necessarily? Like, is it just divisional? So as long as you don't lose in that division, you still get to be the lineal champion in that division. And then,
right.
If all you are is a lineal champion in that division, are you actually still a champion?
So before I go on, Tommy Temper, welcome to the group. And
well, God damn, it's good to be back. No, I'll chime in a minute because I think Smoke's on a roll.
No, what you need is about to answer. So,
you want me to answer? Okay. So all I was gonna say, shout out to EJ Boxing Live. I hope EJ's still there. What I was gonna say is that remember Costa Zoo was the undisputed champion at a certain point in time. So because Ricky Hatton beat Costa Zoo was undisputed. Remember, Costa Zoo beat Zab Judah. I think he beat Zab Judah. Zab Judah was what? I think Zoo had 3 titles. Sometimes Zab Judah made it 4, something like that. Or it was 1-on-1. I can't remember how it went. But I know Costa Zoo became undisputed. And it's because Costa Zoo was undisputed and Ricky Hatton beat Costa Zoo, who was once undisputed. Because Costa Zoo became undisputed, just like with EJ was talking about Lennox Lewis. Once Lennox Lewis became undisputed. Now, if somebody had beaten Lennox Lewis, whether he was undisputed or not, at the point in time, if somebody had beaten him, that person would have been the lineal champion carrying forward. Because Lennox Lewis, because he became undisputed, how I understand it, you beat somebody who was once undisputed and didn't get beaten before that, and whether they get stripped of belts or whatever, they was undisputed. That would lead to you being lineal. You wouldn't be undisputed, but you'd be lineal. You understand?
So yeah, but Lennox beat the lineal. He didn't just beat the undisputed. He beat the undisputed and the lineal when he beat Holyfield.
Yeah.
So did Ali.
But what I'm saying is, this is the important point I'm trying to say, that with once you become undisputed at some point, then the lineal heritage passes on now. Now, because I think I'm trying to remember, was Mike Tyson undisputed when Buster Douglas beat him? Right?
Yes.
He was undisputed, right?
He was undisputed and lineal. That's how Holyfield got the lineal title.
Wait. Before you go on, he was undisputed, which is the most important point, right?
Yeah.
See, what's the use being lineal if you didn't come off the heritage of somebody down the line who was undisputed? It's because that person was declared the champion of champions that you follow that lineal heritage. Get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Whoever was the man, that's the important thing, right? So
yeah, but
because Tyson was the man and Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson, Buster Douglas was now was he undisputed? He didn't get stripped, right?
Yeah, yes, he was undisputed. But the lineal title passed during the Michael Spinks fight, right? Because Michael Spinks got it off of Larry Holmes. Yeah, Larry Holmes got it off of Ali, right? So that fight had both in it, but Michael Spinks was the lineal guy.
But was Mike Tyson undisputed when he beat Michael Spinks?
Yeah, I think that was undisputed versus lineal lineal.
So
and the same thing with Ali Frazier, right? Ali was lineal, Frazier was undisputed.
Right. But here's my thing, so that you understand me. He got lineal, so that means he also got the pass down. But even if Michael Spinks hadn't beaten him, he would have been undisputed and start his own lineage. So if somebody had beaten Mike Tyson, say even if Buster Douglas had beat Mike Tyson, he would have been lineal and undisputed. because Mike Tyson would have started,
it doesn't start
even if
over
he
though
didn't,
just because you become undisputed.
listen,
That's my point.
listen, why? Listen first. Because you have to understand there were times where the lineal championship was broken. It was broken. That's my point. I've been making it over and over. It's never been consistent all the way through. It's been broken. There's been times when champions, Carlos Monzon, etc., left and they didn't get beaten. Rocky Marciano, etc., right? People
right, that's the thing. Right, it's retiring. So if you retire, that's when the undisputed happens.
We're trying to do it one at a time. So just mute your mic for the moment. Let me just finish my saying so you don't interrupt. So what I'm saying is the linear championship was broken. The reason it got continued onwards was because somebody became undisputed. And when that person became undisputed, the heritage could carry on to that person, right? So even if Mike Tyson didn't face the guy who beat Larry Holmes, Spinks, right? Even if he didn't beat Spinks, he still would, because he was undisputed, he would not have been lineal because he would have been undisputed. The guy who beat him now would have been lineal and undisputed. And just all lineal means is I'm carrying on the heritage, right? I'm carrying on the lineage of champions. I beat the man, right? Mike Tyson would have made himself the man by being undisputed, by having those, I think it was 3 titles he had to have, right? So, but Mike Tyson was lineal and undisputed because he beat the former guy who had never been beaten before, who was Mike Spinks. So he carried on the lineage that Michael Spinks had through Larry Holmes, through Muhammad Ali, through Sonny Liston, and so on and so on, right? So, but
yeah, but what you're talking about there is a direct exchange.
Right, and that's the issue. The issue is if the lineal champion retires, and there's a new undisputed, then a new line starts, right? But the issue is, there's never been another undisputed at heavyweight. There's not been another undisputed since the last lineal retired. So all of these guys with their lineage, it doesn't make any sense because, well, not all these guys, because there's really only one guy. Well, no, there's 2. There's Vladimir Klitschko and Tyson Fury. These 2 guys and their lineage, their lineal status is just Ring Magazine and has nothing to do with the tradition of what the lineal started, what the lineal is supposed to mean, the man that beat the man, because Vladimir Klitschko never beat Lennox Lewis and Vladimir Klitschko never became undisputed.
Correct.
The problem with the lineal is because we've got like 4 or more belts, it's diluted even the value of it, because even with the lineal, as I said earlier, there is no commitment with it, because once you get that title, you're not forced to defend it.
You're supposed to be forced to defend it, which is what happened with Adonis Stevenson. He was supposed to face Sergey Kovalev, who was the guy that had amassed all the titles, of beating all the champions. So it should have been Adonis Stevenson versus Sergey Kovalev. And like you guys are saying, you know, Canelo Alvarez should have faced Jamal Charlo. Lomachenko should have faced Devin Haney. That's how it's supposed to be. But apparently this franchise championship is kind of messing it up a bit. But we'll see how it goes. We'll play along.
Tyson Fury is better than Klitschko because he got the WBC belt. So he got all the belts that Klitschko had, plus he got the WBC belt. So he's starting a new lineage himself now. He hasn't got all the belts.
Necessarily.
No. Let me finish what I'm saying. My bad. That's cool. Yeah, what I'm saying is that he beat Klitschko and held the belts. Now he vacated them and scattered them to the wind, but he did have them. He never defended them, but he did have them. And now he's got the WBC belt. So in effect, again, this goes back to the same thing I was saying before. He has held all the belts that Klitschko had. Now he's at the WBC belt. So as far as I'm concerned, the new lineage starts now. When he fights Wilder, bro, that'll be the new lineage. He done something Klitschko never did. He caught the belt that Klitschko never did. So that's, for my opinion, and this is me, the way I see it, he's the guy right now. That's why I said that he's beat the 2 guys who most people can claim as the best there. Both of them on their streaks, and he's beat them regardless of how he did it. So that's where it starts right now, and that's the way I said. That's what I said about Mayweather. Even though he didn't have them all at the same time, he's still considered as the man, because end of the day he's had every belt. He never lost the belts in the ring, and whoever they claim to that the welterweight division, even the light middleweight. Was that light heavy, whatever? Because it's not light heavy, light middle. When he beat Canelo, right? He beat them. He beat Zab Judah, who beat Corey Spinks. He beat Carlos Baldomir, who beat Zab Judah. Then he came back with Shea Mosley and Mayorga. He came back and beat Shea Mosley. You know what I'm trying to say? And then Pacquiao came into the division and started wreaking havoc, and he came and took him out. So he's the guy, bro. That's how that works, man. Now, this is what I'm trying to say about that belt thing. Like I told you when Mike Tyson collected all the belts, he wasn't a guy until he beat Michael Spinks. So that thing still stands for me, and that was a lot of people thought that. Even though Mike Tyson got all the belts, but most of the time, even when he was collecting them belts against them guys, most of the public didn't even know who they got, but they knew who Michael Spinks was because he beat Larry Holmes. So what I'm saying to you is that end of the day, you still need to beat the man in the division. That's why it's the man thing. Tyson Fury can now start saying his lineage starts now. He beat Klitschko, and the last guy to have all the belts like that was Lennox Lewis, not the WBO, but back in then you didn't need to get 4 belts. So Lennox Lewis was the last. Now, officially, in my opinion, Fury's reign starts right now as the linear undisputed champion, whatever you want to call it.
You know what? I'm not necessarily mad at that at that conclusion either, or that assessment, because he's undefeated and he did hold all the belts. I mean, one could say that he fought the first fight against Klitschko under sort of a PED haze, like some controversy there. Not quite sure what's going on with that, but he didn't pop dirty for that test, right? I mean, for that fight. So yeah, I get it. I get it. He's had all the belts, including, and now he's like 2-time ring champ. Yeah, I mean, it still seems to me that you should hold them all at the same time, but holding them all together also, you know, it's an interesting argument.
What
well, it's
Tommy
expensive
Tucker,
to sanction fees, isn't it? Yeah. The biggest criticism I have about Fury is that he has yet to defend a strap. So even though think about it this way, I think he fights better when he's the challenger. We haven't seen him fight as a champion yet, have we?
Correct. And then the other thing I have to say is he can't pull out Lennox Lewis from retirement and face Lennox Lewis, because you're saying if you were the man, you got to beat the man. And if Klitschko didn't beat Lennox Lewis, he beat Klitschko, but Klitschko didn't beat Lennox Lewis, then he's still not the man in that respect. You know, somebody got to get back to Lennox Lewis. So either he faces Lennox Lewis, Lennox Lewis come out of retirement, he faced Lennox Lewis. You know, it's like that's it. So I would say that, like, building his own legacy. That's why, you know, you hear people say, "Oh, why are you trying to beat old man Floyd Mayweather? Build your own legacy." I think sometimes building your legacy from scratch. If you become undisputed, right? I mean, everybody's arguing that he's undisputed in a way because he never lost the belts. But then you know, what I would say is, to me, it's better if you facing a certain set of people who are the champions of the day. They are the best of the day. For example, when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, right, was Deontay Wilder champion? I think Deontay Wilder was champion.
Yes,
I think he was, yeah.
I think
2015, wasn't it?
Parker was champion and Joshua.
No, when he beat Vladimir Klitschko, it was just Vladimir Klitschko and Deontay Wilder. So it was only 2 champions. Right.
So it's a different world now, because now AJ is, you know, he got some championship belts. He amassed some championship belts. You know what I'm saying?
But you could say those are Fury's belts, though.
You could say those were Klitschko belts, but that's not the point. The point is Anthony Joshua's improved. See, back in the day, he was.
Okay. Now I hear what you're saying. Okay, go ahead.
The best, about facing the best of your time. So you can say you the man in your time. So when you kind of do it in different times, you may be undefeated 2 different times, but are you necessarily facing the very best of those different times, who are the champions of those different times? That's why it's kind of nice to just settle it once and for all by getting all the belts from all the best of that particular time, and you can move forward from there.
Yeah, but I don't think these designations mean that. Like, what you're describing now is cleaning out the division, right? So I don't think that cleaning out the division is necessarily being undisputed or necessarily even being a champ, right? I think you can be undisputed or be lineal. You can be champ, you can be undisputed champ and lineal, and still haven't necessarily fought the best of your division. You could still have guys who are lurking around there that, you know.
I disagree with that, because here's my point. We look at the best of the division by the people who become the champions. That's the top of whatever the sanctioning body is. The top of it will be the champion. Top of this sanction will be the champion. Top of this sanction will be the champion. Right now, technically speaking, he almost did it. He almost cleaned it out. He just had Wilder left at the time, right? Wilder was the champion. Wilder did very well, but then it's a different era now. When you look at it, Klitschko's not around. He's not around now. So AJ rose to the top. Now we got Ruiz coming out of nowhere, and we got some. As you go through different eras, different people come up and become the next best thing. So now it's like you kind of cleared out the slate, and you have a new slate of people. You may have Wilder still hanging around, but he never faced Wilder in that time, right? So this is maybe a different Wilder from the Wilder he would have faced back then. So now you have to look at it and say, okay, I got to do a fresh slate. So I'm picking up now this belt here, and then I got this guy to get, and then I got that guy to get, and so on. So right now, the top dogs in that arena, he still got to deal with is Joshua, because Joshua still got a couple belts together. So if he takes care of Joshua, he's undisputed. That's if he could get past Wilder in this third fight. So that's how it is currently.
Right. But let's rewind though for a little bit, right? Let's just rewind a little bit.
Kulov, and now he had to face Kulov.
But let's just rewind a little bit, right? Let's say that the AJ rematch didn't happen and the Fury rematch didn't happen, right? And instead we got an undisputed fight between Ruiz and Wilder, right? Would those guys be considered the best of the division, even though you still have AJ out there and you still have Fury out there?
Yes, because they're the current guys. You got to look in current time. You can't just be looking into the future or into the past.
No, I'm saying just currently. I'm just saying like those rematches didn't happen, but it was Ruiz Wilder. But still,
yeah.
Let's go a little bit farther with this hypothetical. You know, just give me a little bit of leeway. Let's say Ruiz beat Wilder, right? So Ruiz would have beaten AJ and Wilder to become undisputed, right? And create a new lineage, right? So he would have been lineal and undisputed. But he still never faced Fury.
He wouldn't have been
still would have been at that point. Who still would have been at that point the undisputed. I mean,
he wouldn't have been.
He would have been lineal. No, he would have been lineal because. Let me finish. Let me finish. The reason why he would have been lineal is because Lennox Lewis is retired. So as soon as there would have been a new undisputed, that's when a new lineage is established. Since Lennox Lewis is gone, Lennox Lewis is now in the Hall of Fame. He is completely retired from boxing. What you would have had with a Ruiz Wilder would be not only undisputed. As a matter of fact, whoever fights for undisputed next at heavyweight is not only going to become the undisputed, but also the lineal. Right? That is how the undisputed and lineal. That's how the lineal, a new line is actually established from the historical standpoint. That's how Floyd Patterson became lineal after Rocky Marciano retired. That's how that's how Lennox Lewis became. Well, not Lennox Lewis. Actually, Lennox Lewis got it off of an unbroken line. But after the Rocky Marciano break and Floyd Patterson new line, that line ended with Lennox Lewis, who's now done. So now the only thing to create a new line is to become undisputed. And what I'm saying is, if Ruiz would have done that against Wilder, he would have beat AJ and Wilder, but he would not have beaten Fury at that point, who was the last unified champ and Ring Magazine champ, and also still undefeated at that point.
So my point is this: first of all, this is what I just wanted to correct you on. He would not have been lineal. Andy Ruiz would have been the undisputed champion. The guy who beats Andy Ruiz would be lineal and undisputed. You're forming a new lineage, yeah, but you yourself didn't come from a lineage, so you can't be lineal.
So hold on a minute. So what happens to Tyson Fury's lineage then?
Sorry, my bad.
So what happens to Tyson Fury's lineage? How does it come to an end, or where does it come to an end?
Because Floyd Patterson was a lineal. Floyd Patterson was the new lineal. He didn't have to. It wasn't the guy who beat Sonny Liston. Wasn't the new lineal, the new first lineal after he beat Floyd Patterson. It was Floyd Patterson who was the who established the new line when he became undisputed.
So once again, like I said before, I don't know what the Ring magazine says, but when you're undisputed, you start a lineage, but you yourself are not lineal. You can't be lineal. How can you be lineal? You didn't come off of a lineage, so you can't be a lineal champion. You can only be lineal if you come up from a lineage. If you're starting your own lineage, it's like you're a father or mother. You're the father or mother. You're not a son or daughter, right? Unless you came from somebody else. But you understand what I'm saying?
Right, no,
but
right, being first,
you're talking about two different
being
types
first
of
in line
lineage.
still
You're
makes you
talking
lineal.
Hold up. Hey, guys, we gotta respect each other when we speaking at least. Don't interrupt each other, right? So if you want to talk, just let me know, and I'll mute.
Okay, I'll put my hand up.
I don't want to go crazy.
Okay, the problem is we're talking about two different types of lineages. You're talking about, yeah, and you hit the nail on the head. You're talking about ones where you inherit, it's part of it. You're part of a heritage, or one where you're the. I can't think of the big word, but Smoke will think of a big one.
No, he's saying, are you part of a line or you're establishing a new line? Regardless, both of those they were still lineal, even when you're establishing a new line. You're just the first in that line.
Can you have two lineals at the same time?
No.
So then my question still stands unanswered. When did Tyson Fury, with this hypothetical of Andy Ruiz beating Deontay Wilder as well and becoming undisputed, does that end Tyson Fury's lineal?
Right. Well, Tyson Fury's lineal is only based on the Ring magazine, which had nothing to do with because Ring magazine didn't put that. I don't think Ring magazine may or may not have put their belt up for that fight. But if Ring magazine, let's say, did put their belt up for that fight, then yes, then they would have been a new lineal with the Ring magazine and the new lineal with the historical definition of lineal too that predates Ring magazine.
They couldn't do that because the guy was still active, so it's still the man as the man concept. So I hear what you're saying, Smoke, but no to that question because I'll tell you why, Smoke, because the man. This is what I'm trying to say, and this is why I made it clear as well. If you look at Mike Tyson when he collected all the belts, Spinks, right? Because he beat Larry Holmes, he was the man. That's what I'm trying to say to you. So I know they use the word lineal, but it still comes down to the same old man who beat the man. You know what I'm trying to say? So the man who beat the man, Spinks beat Larry Holmes, he's still the man. You can take all the belts. Yeah, take all the belts and the accolades, but I'm still the guy. You still need to beat me. So what I'm saying is that as long as Tyson Fury was active, they could fight and they can have all the belts and they can have the name, but you still had to come through Tyson Fury and he was active. So they wouldn't they would have got all the accolades, but they wouldn't have been everyone would have. This is what I try to say. That's why people fight. They'd have to go for Tyson Fury.
But Tyson Fury was
here's the thing. Here's the issue, though.
Listen. Okay. But they get the Ring magazine. They gave him because remember Klitschko. The reason why Klitschko reign was whatever because the sports writers of America or whatever it is, they made Tyson. Even though Klitschko didn't get one belt, because remember again back in the day you need to get 3 belts. So in effect, Klitschko had 3 belts, but he didn't have the WBC belt we used to, right? But that was the only belt he did. But he did have 3 belts. So the sports writers of America, they made him the linear champion because he done all the body of work of fighting the guys and beating
against
all the guys.
Shagayev. They put the belt on.
All them bums. Yeah, all them bums. So what I'm saying is that they made Klitschko that guy. When Tyson Fury beat him, he inherited what Klitschko has. You know what I mean? It's like someone rich inherited what you have. So even though he inherited it, he never lost. So the question was, would he receive the accolades of what Tyson Fury and Vladimir Klitschko have? He would have got half portion of it, but he wouldn't have got the whole pie. No, so the answer would have been no. That's what I'm saying. The answer would have been no. If Andy Ruiz and Tyson and Wilder would have fought, right? Yeah, they would have had all the belts, yeah, but you still had to see Tyson Fury. He had to because he was still active. Unless he retired, like you pointed out, Lennox Lewis and Hall of Fame, then yeah, the new thing. That's why I said that Tyson Fury's lineage starts today. It started when he beat Wilder straight away. That is it. Because then it even done something like I said, what Klitschko never did, had every single belt, not holding it at the same time, but he's even this how much he's even on it. He's looking to even beat Wilder and then go on to beat Joshua, who has the other sides of the belt. That's some shit right there. That's that with no shadow of a doubt to be the best. So that thing what you put out before, it would have standed, but people still wouldn't abide it because they would have still said you need to start something. Like even though Tyson Fury's beat Wilder, they're not going to give Tyson Fury even all the accolades he's got. He has to see Tyson Fury has to see Anthony Joshua because he's done a lot of work getting the belts back and building the belt. So they have to see each other, even though they would have got portion of the accolades, but they still have to see each other because they're still there with a portion of the belts. So it's one of them ones there. It's either belts or the man, but eventually they all have to. It all comes together. You have to fight. There's only, like the Highlander said, there can only be one.
Right. So if I could just jump in real quick, like I was saying, the Ring magazine and the Lineal, right? And cleaning out the division. Those are totally separate concepts. And what I'm saying is with the Ring magazine, you can actually lose the Ring magazine lineal status, right? You can lose that title outside of the ring. You can lose that. So because you can lose it outside the ring, what good is that lineage, right? So they can establish, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so you would have still had, I don't even know that Ring magazine was saying, like Ring magazine itself, when Tyson Fury was saying that he was the lineal guy, Ring magazine had that, they had their title as vacant. They had it as vacant, right? So that was literally just Tyson Fury running his mouth about a historical designation that he never achieved in the first place. So but that is a completely different thing than if would Ruiz actually still be the man if he beat Deontay Wilder, became undisputed, became lineal in the historical sense, in the traditional sense, but hadn't faced Tyson Fury. And I'm saying that I don't think he would have been the man, like you're saying, right? But I don't think it has anything to do with the actual lineage part of it. It has everything to do with the fact that you still have a guy who is an undefeated champ who never lost in the ring.
So what I would say is, I disagree with you in this respect. If Tyson Fury, let's say Vladimir Klitschko faced, what's his name? Lennox Lewis, and beat Lennox Lewis, right? And then Tyson Fury beat Vladimir Klitschko, he is definitely the lineal champion.
Yes.
Right? Whether Klitschko won belts or not, lost belts or whatever, he would have been the lineal champion, whether they strip him or whatever, right? And therefore, if Andy Ruiz had beaten Anthony Joshua, let's say, right, and became undisputed, he still, once Tyson Fury's active, not if he's inactive, if once Tyson Fury's active, then he still would have to come see him. I could see that making sense. Because people, the public, not necessarily the bodies, because the bodies would say he's undisputed and that's that. But the public would demand it because Tyson Fury was active. However, if Tyson Fury, as it is, like how you were describing with the ring title, no. The ring title itself would not have allowed, because that was just good. Even today, Tyson, is he really lineal? Is he really? I mean, is he really? I mean,
no.
Klitschko,
He got that whole Vladimir Klitschko is lineal. They got that. That was put on the online when he fought Ruslan Shagayev. At no point was anybody think that Ruslan Shagayev was the man, right? So Vladimir Klitschko beating Ruslan Shagayev should not have established a new line in any way, shape, or form.
Right. So that's my point. My point is, unless Klitschko had became undisputed himself, and he would not be lineal champion because he wouldn't have beaten Lennox Lewis. So he wouldn't have been lineal champion, but he would establish his own lineal. He would have been the undisputed champion. And whoever beat him, if anybody beat him, whoever beat him would be undisputed, depending on if he has all his belts. If he got stripped, they wouldn't be undisputed, but they would definitely be lineal. And you have to respect that lineal title. However, they would not be undisputed. And this is my point. So it's like, because how I see it is, if you're going to start a new lineage, you got to be undisputed. You have to be. A new lineage, the only way is to establish by being undisputed.
Yes, at heavyweight. Yeah, because the last guy is retired and in the Hall of Fame, right? So there's no way that guy can come back. He is right. So at this point, the only way to establish a new line is by becoming undisputed, which is the entire point of why Tyson Fury is just full of shit. when he goes around
Well,
calling himself the lineal champion. He's not the
he's
lineal
not. He's not.
champion. He is
No,
the
he's not.
Ring Magazine champion. Now you can
Correct.
now make an argument because he's held all the belts and never lost in the ring. So you're ticking off boxes that are attributes, that are requirements for the new line. The only problem is, I think you need to hold them all at the same time. I don't think
That's
that
what
you
I'm
can.
saying.
I don't think you can just hold them, then get suspended for drug abuse, and then come back and beat another guy when there's 3 dudes.
Because
I don't know, man.
you
That's
gotta
tough. That's a
defend
tough
them.
one.
Because you
Yeah,
got
that's
to
a tough
defend them too. You got to defend them. If you say you undisputed, then you got to defend your defenses against the different people.
What he is,
And he ain't
he's
done
going
that.
against Wild. Well, he's going to do that. He's going to go against Wild. I'm not trying. Listen, whether I like it or not, yeah. The bottom line is this, yeah. If you look at the requirements of Jim Jeffries and all them guys when there was one belt, like they weren't saying undisputed, one belt, right? And then he left, and then the belt, other people fought for the belt. Tommy Burns had 12 defenses. He was trying to establish his own lineage until Jack Johnson, the color champion, beat his ass. And then they said, look, we need to bring you back out. You know what I mean? And then he beat him. Ali, the same thing. When Larry Holmes got all the belt, beat what's his name? Ken Norton.
But there are
Larry
other instances
beat
when it
Ken
didn't
Norton.
happen,
But when
though.
one minute, when Larry Holmes beat Ken Norton, like they still didn't recognize Larry until he beat Ali. So they still on that shit. That like people are, look, man, I'll tell you the boxing thing, we hard, bro. We ain't easy to please and we ain't
Yeah,
giving
but
up
Ali
shit.
was still Ali was still active. That's my point.
When he beat Larry Holmes, Ali went active for about a
When
year,
Larry
bro.
Holmes
Ali
beat him.
retired. Ali
When Larry Holmes
retired.
beat him.
Yeah, I know, but before that, Ali was retired, bro. He in 1980, man. Ali been fighting for bloody dead. Ali was dead, bro. His legs were dead, taking pills. I don't know what he was taking. Larry Holmes beat the shit out of him, bro. What I'm saying is this, right? Any game, we are hard to please, but we ain't joking around with this shit. Now Tyson's been running up his mouth, calling himself that, but to credit to himself, he getting in there. Now, if you say he ain't defended it and all them things there, when he gonna defend it against Wilder, and so someone's gonna have to get some credit out here. Someone gonna have to get the respect. So at least he's going for it and trying to get that. The Wilder fight's there. You know, most people think he gonna beat Wilder, and then he's gonna go on to beat AJ, and then he don't need to do anything else but retire after that and sit on his lump. That's what he's looking to do. Because I heard him already. He ain't trying to fight no one else after that. He's looking to beat AJ and cut out. Huh?
I hope he defends.
Nah, yeah, two defenses. Wilder, that'll be the first defense, and AJ in the second defense. You know what I mean? That's what he's looking to do, or AJ in the third defense, and he's looking to do a Rocky and cut out. Because the thing is, yeah, that you know, the longer you stay around, the longer you go and think. Like Roy Jones. Look, Roy Jones should have quit after he beat Ruiz heavyweight. I mean, he could have unified with Chris Bird.
So,
but he didn't want
in order for it to say that he cleaned out the division, he would have to, at this point, beat AJ, White,
Wilder,
and Usyk. He already beat Wilder, right?
Usyk ain't done shit. What Usyk
right, but
done?
I'm just saying, right? I don't think he's done shit either. I'm just saying, like, what is it? But he is a WBO, like, you know, the WBO weird politic them way into a mandatory challenge, right?
Yeah, but he ain't done nothing. Them guys.
No, I know. He has done nothing. Yeah, all right.
Yeah, they don't need to fight none of them.
So what would it be? Would it be Dillian White, Ortiz?
None of them. He don't need to because they.
I'm just saying to clean out the division, not in order to retire and be the man. I'm just saying to clean out the division.
No, but listen about. Yeah, but the guys who got the belts, you don't need to clean out when the guys have done it. They've done. Anthony Josh has done the body of work already. You don't need to clean out anything. Like you beat who's ever got the belts. That's Anthony Joshua, and you quit. There's nothing else. Them guys are challenging.
They're all the top guys. He's saying clean out all the guys.
Yeah, you don't.
Well, I mean, we're just talking about Cleveland Big Cat Williams not getting a shot though.
Yeah, Joe Kazaki. Yeah, that's a good chat. Chad Dawson, Joe Kazaki. He beat Roy Jones, beat Hopkins, right? He's like Chad Dawson. They go, but there's one guy out there, Chad Dawson. Bro, is anyone looking at Chad Dawson now about what? You know what I'm saying? Like, let him start his own shit. You know, that's how people are. Boxing is what it is. Like, you longer you stay around, you don't need to be fighting no Usyk. Let Usyk fight for the breadcrumb. He old as well. He don't need to be fighting no Usyk. Because in the day, like, that's a fight. Usyk got to prove himself. Like, Anthony Josh is for the taking. He just got knocked out by Ruiz. He came back in the fight and he looked shaky. Tyson's really looking at it like, yeah, I can beat him. And I agree, he probably could. And he definitely couldn't beat Wilder because he whooped Wilder's ass. So he's looking to take them two and he's going to go bye-bye. And that's what he gonna do. He gonna get the hell out of Dodge, bro.
He might leave for a minute to let the heavyweight division kind of catch itself, find a top guy. When that top guy comes out, he might want to whoop his ass after.
Yeah, cherry pick fights and get paid for lots of money.
Yeah, he beat them two black guys. He beat them two black guys.
If he beats Vladimir, Wilder, and AJ, then sure, I'd like to see him fight other guys, but I mean, really, what do we need to know? We can say who the best we can say the best of a generation at that point, right?
Yeah, that's what he beat the best of the division, and he sits there on top. That's what I said. That's what he's looking to do. That's why he's doing all this retirement and dodging and that. And he put himself. Look, Wilder done this to himself now. Wilder should have whooped Fury's ass when Fury was running for his life, right? In the first fight. So he brought in himself, right? So that's what he gonna do. And now he's in a position where AJ was in. Can he come back and put Fury out of boxing? Let me tell you something. I think he can, man. Because all you need is Fury. Because Fury, and I'll tell you how he can do it, right? Fury ain't around Sugar Hill, bro. Even though I heard he's training and doing, he ain't around Sugar Hill. Wilder's on the other hand, we ain't heard nothing from that guy, bro. Nothing. George Foreman, I don't know who's trainer. We don't know what's going on. Wilder's on some secret, you know what I'm saying? Like he on some FBI mission and shit. That dude is on a mission to get his belts back and shut the doubters down. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm trying to say to you, bro. And then after if he beats Fury, then he can claim then Wilder. So this race is still on. The race is still on to the legacy and think. If Fury gets sprayed out by Wilder, how we not everything we said about Fury is a clown. He ain't serious. We can say all that shit now. We knew he was a fraud already. Like, well, we knew Wilder was the real chap. That's how fickle people are. So. There's everything to play for.
We're gonna need that fourth fight, man. We're gonna need that fourth fight.
You're probably right. Yeah, you're right. Oh shit.
It's good stuff though. The fact that we could talk about a heavyweight division like that. But thank you so very much, gentlemen, for this linear championship. We went 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 24 seconds. This is incredible.
I'm glad I finally caught you live, man. I'm glad I caught you on the panel. Like, I'm digging it. I look forward to more.
Yeah, man, that's what it's all about. It's about, trying to help people out with boxing and just trying to get it. But EJ is invaluable in bringing out the colored champion and the fact that, Undisputed was, these people were left out of the equation. Some of the best fighters were left out of the equation, so that's a huge point right there. I don't always agree with everything you're saying on Undisputed because I got to stay with whatever the conventions are, but I do get the deeper understanding that you're giving us, EJ, and even get this smoke. And of course, Tommy Temple, who came on the panel, Tommy Temple, the voice of reason, even though his name is Temper. And as well, we have also on the panel, Intangible Boxing was also in there. He said, we're talking of the multi-belt era. So he was bringing up another point, where we have so many alphabet titles now on the line that determine the undisputed champion. Get the Smokers just left the building. EJ Boxing Live, man. Thank you so very much for coming through. You really love boxing, bro. You really love boxing.
Hey, bro. Hey, I'm glad you're on StreamYard because usually when I see you, you're just doing it live on your camera. But when I saw StreamYard, I saw the link. So anytime you drop the link, and I'm always ready to come over because I know how much you love boxing. What you need, always a source of knowledge. Like because you stroke up some real good debates in terms of about the lineage and whether how people receive it. Like they learning something. What they need to do, like I said about the color championship, people need to put that in perspective, bro. That was an official belt. I don't care if people say it weren't looked on anything. How can you say it wasn't looked on when all the best fighters were over there? So, as far as I'm concerned, the WBO, you can almost say that the colored belt was like the WBO belt. It was the real. So when Jack Johnson
I think it was better than the WBO because.
No, but what I'm saying is that I would say that because the WBO belt was one of them belts here that it's like they didn't rate the contenders, but now you see the WBO belt as all the great contenders. That's what I'm trying to say when I mentioned the WBO because
the color belt was around like forever. It was around. Yeah,
it was around until about 1960. But you see, the thing is about the colored belt, yeah, they enacted it because obviously segregation, but bruh, they had the most they had beasts down there, but it's the only thing they wasn't getting paid whole lot of money, Joe. You know what I'm saying? Like, but they had the best fighters in there.
Yeah,
but they looked on the white champions and they were getting all the money. They used to get all the money. I mean, that still happens in effect. Yeah, if you look at like Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield, they brought boxing. You see what I'm saying? When the black champions came into the equation, because of the intrigue, yeah, it brought so much into that. You know what I'm saying? But the dominance of the white champions is going to be hard because their lifestyle and how white people, not necessarily white people, don't need to fight, but black people are still in a position where we're not earning enough. So usually it's a poor person. Boxing's a poor man's sport. So whoever's getting oppressed, usually they're gonna box. But in England, it's like there's a lot of people in England not oppressed, but they do boxing. But how many of them is gonna be world champions? That's why I always say that a lot of English guys, they're champions, but not necessarily they're not the best in the world at the division. But we do have Tyson Fury and Joshua, who are right now the best in the division at the world. So we can roll with that. But yeah, we can roll with that. But thanks for letting me over.
You guys also got in the top 10. You got Joe Joyce and you got Daniel Dubois. And then in Europe, we got the Russians coming. The Russians are coming, boy. You see them Russian heavyweights are coming up?
Are you talking about whole vision? Whole vision, them man there. Like you talking about whole vision.
I'm talking about the guy that knocked out Deontay Wilder in the amateurs.
Oh, what's his name?
I forgot his name right now. If I remember, I can tell you his name. But he's also in the division. He's 10-0 already.
I don't mean
he knocked out everybody. 100% knockout ratio.
Oh, but Effie Jogba sent him back home, bro. Like Effie Jogba's coming up as well. You know what I'm saying? So, I ain't playing around like this.
You got a mean overhand right. Mean.
Nah, I ain't fuck with
I've been watching these guys.
Yeah, Effie Jogba's there. You know what I'm saying? But like I said to you, like I enjoy talking to you. Like always welcome coming over. And like you know what I'm saying? Like anyone coming, make sure you guys are subbing and you get the best contact with what you need over here. So I appreciate you letting me come on, bro.
Oh, I appreciate you coming on. You kind of endorsed everything, and it's good talking with you. The talks are long, but they are always informative, always interesting. And shout out also to Tommy Temper. Shout out to Get This Smoke and Tangible Boxing. Also, some of the real boxing heads up in here. We got so much knowledge up in here. It's appreciated everybody coming through. What we're going to do the next video is we're going to talk about not tonight. Oh no, absolutely not. I'll talk myself, but it was great. What I would like you guys to also do, we will try and get some guests on the program that are judges, because Tommy Temple wanted me to get some judges on here who could talk to us and describe to us how to score fights. So hopefully I can scavenge up some judges with this this live feed that we have now. And you guys can hop on again and ask them questions. I'll hop off at certain points in time, so you won't be seeing me, but the feed will be going on, and you guys can ask them questions. One thing we got to do, though, so that we don't take too long, is I'm going to have to try and formulate a program so that we can have questions and answers, and so more people can hop on and hop off when they want to. And I don't want to go too long. Like this is way too long. Like this was like almost 3 hours long. We want to cut it down and stay focused on certain things, so that when people get a chance to talk, you know, they talk for a certain period of time on a focused thing. I want people to be able to talk as much as they want to and feel free to talk, but I want us to always take turns in talking, because sometimes I don't want us shouting over one another. That'll make no sense. And I'm not talking about angry or anything, just so we could get the people who are listening could hear what we're talking about in terms of boxing. And other than that, we're going to try and get some guests on here who know about scoring fights, so we can talk a little bit more about scoring fights, because I think that was a passion of Tommy Temper. Forget This Smoke as well. It was good to see him here. Want to get some guys on here also who could teach you a thing or two about boxing, in terms of just when you're looking at fights, what to look for, and when you're looking at fights to see and understand how boxers behave. So this is just for the fight fans, so you can get more educated on fights. And so I want to get some of those people on this program as well. Okay. And if I can get some people, interview some people in the business, that'd be great too. You know. So I'm what you need. It was nice talking to everybody. It's now 9:09 in the night. Shout out to the following people: Tommy Temper, Get This Smoke, Intangible Boxing, Holy Inferno. Hope that I'll see you again, Holy Inferno. It was good talking with you, as well as Poopy Sistrunk, who was not on this feed tonight. Shout out to Poopy Sistrunk. Shout out to a whole boxing community out there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Peace.